that somebody's fancy doorbell?
That's my clock over Shaw's.
Nice.
Guess that means it's 6 o'clock.
Well,
Hi, Kim. Hi, Kim Harris.
Tony?
That's me.
Hi, Tony.
Hi, everyone.
All right.
Is here now.
Hello, everyone. Joe's clock is on time, keeping us moving here. So it is 4 o'clock. Look at that.
Oh, 4 o'clock. That's right. Not 6.
4 o'clock, not 6. Yeah.
It is 6 o'clock somewhere.
It is.
Yeah.
Central time.
Like in Denver. All
right. So I'd like to call to order a special meeting of the Truckee Donner Public Utility District. It is 4:01 p.m. And roll call. There we are. Shauna, please.
Thank you. Director Aguera?
Here.
Director Laliotis?
Here.
Director Harris?
Here.
Vice President Finn?
Here.
President Bender?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're deferring the pledge. Brian, any changes to the agenda tonight?
Yes, excuse me. Yes, we have one proposed change. This evening we have two consultants providing a great presentation as part of our workshop item. I believe that is item number 9. I'm sorry, number 11. Item number 11 is a workshop item. At the board's pleasure or consideration, we'd like to move that up to just after the special business item. So move workshop item number 11 to take place right after special business item number 6. And this is in the interest of kind of a recognition of the time spent by the consultants, and that we can get that process through in a timely manner.
Got it. Oh, okay. Just to recap, we're moving the workshop 11 to right after item 6 and before all the action items.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. That sounds good. Okay. Public comment. Is there any public comment from folks not on items not on the agenda? So we have one TTC TV attendee. Any emails, Shauna?
No, Mr. President, I do not have any public comment.
Okay, no public comment. So we'll go to director update. Kim, welcome. So do you have any updates for the board? You're here.
Why, yes, I do. I wanted to start off right and kind of address a few things. So thank you very much for the floor. First, I wanted to thank Bob Ellis for his 8 years of service at the Truckee Donner P.U.D. He and I actually started at the P.U.D. about the same time, and I know there were some challenging times he had, and I do appreciate his commitment to the community and service as a board member. Congratulations to President Bender and Director Aguera for successfully winning their seats. Their longtime knowledge and continued service is greatly appreciated. A huge thank you to all the community members who voted for me and supported me in my desire to serve the community on the PUD board. Thanks to you all, and I will do my best to represent you in a way that will make you proud. I was invited by local community members to attend 2 community presentations in the past couple of weeks. One was put on by the UC Davis Tahoe Environmental Research Center, and a second was with the Friends of the Library presentation, Imagine the Possibilities, on the vision of the new Truckee Library. I also want to publicly acknowledge that I am extremely appreciative and supportive of the district employees. I want everybody to think back a few years ago in Snowmageddon of 2017. This is when the entire town of Truckee was out of electricity due to a giant outage that was beyond our control. Our employees were amazing. They were the ones working the freezing temperatures in the dead of winter, shoveling lots and lots of snow, climbing the electric poles, monitoring the water systems to ensure uninterrupted water service, manning the phones, updating the excellent GIS mapping system, and providing other emergency services to ensure up-to-date active communications with personnel, our customers, and the community. All the employees stepped up and chipped in somehow. And this is how we can see how a team will thrive when they are under pressure and faced with uncertainty. Over the past few years, the uncertainty and pressure has come in many forms. Several well-liked and competent staff members left for various reasons. COVID happened, and there was a huge increase in the number of new customers, coupled with a strong building season, and now we have modified work schedules. A new general manager was hired, and then he's gone. More uncertainty and pressure to our dedicated employees. With the right support and leadership, we can continue to thrive, and I believe that we can and we will. The board and staff worked and reworked the core values over the past year. Safety became the #1 value that I believe that everyone can agree on. A safe work environment also comes in many forms. Safety is not just proper body mechanics with lifting or proper training for the crews. Safety comes with professional and honest work ethic, where suggestions and information are shared in a safe and supportive environment, free from the drama of miscommunication or non-transparency or perceived hidden agendas. As a new board member, I recognize that I owe it to our community and our dedicated employees to provide leadership in a well-educated, flexible, knowledgeable manner. I strive to put the success of our employees as a priority, as they are the key to the success of the district and in reaching the values and services in our mission statement. To improve district's transparency and communication with the employees and staff, I am inviting all employees, current and past, to attend the board meetings and discuss the topics in staff meetings. Please share your thoughts and comments with the interim general manager, who will report back to us if needed with feedback if possible. This is a public process and board meetings are open to all. So thank you for the time. And just like Snowmageddon of 2017, I'm confident that we can weather this storm. And I look forward to working with the other board members to contribute to the success of the district by providing the staff and employees leadership and tools they need to provide the excellent water, electric, and administrative services to our customers. So thank you. I'm done.
Okay, yeah, it just took, I had to move my mouse over from the agenda to the Zoom, so, all right, thank you. Okay. Hey, Joe, any updates?
Welcome, Kim. You're on now. So, all righty. And this is your first meeting, and it'll be a good one, I guess. And so that's all I have, really. Yep.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Joe.
Hey, Tony, you got any updates for us?
No particular updates. Welcome, Kim. Excited to work with you for the next at least 2 years. So congratulations and look forward to it. Thanks.
Okay, Krista, any updates from you?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. And welcome, Director Harris, also. My update, I'm starting with that I attended Brown Act training with Director Harris, led by our counsel, Mr. Gross. We also reviewed the traits of high-performing boards with our consultant, Pam Hobday, and our interim GM, Brian Wright. I always find it super valuable to revisit these subjects. And I thank everybody for the work that they put into those trainings and the participation to help us all become better board members. And I'm going to shift gears a little from looking 2 days backwards to looking ahead 2 hours or so. I am a reader. You probably guessed that. A few years ago, I read a book called Lincoln in the Bardo, which was a great reading in and of itself. I recommend it, but also because it introduced me to the concept of the Bardo, which is a Buddhist concept which led me into more reading and led me to the writing of thinker Joanna Macy, who I am going to paraphrase here. The bardo is a between state. It's not earth, it's not heaven, but it is an intermediate place. It is a transformative state. When you enter the bardo, you are met by a Buddha holding a mirror, and a mirror that reflects the world just as it is. It's a mirror of truth. It demands your attention and your acceptance. And the very helpful and hopeful concept here is that in the bardo, the future is not in front of you. The future is inside of you. To me, that was an incredibly powerful idea because I think that we are in the bardo right now. COVID-19 is the Buddha holding the mirror, and in it, we can see how our systems are failing us. Inequality, extraction, racism, environmental destruction, and climate change are all showing us how dependent we are on each other. We are all being given the opportunity to discover what it feels like when you can't breathe. We can't breathe when smoke from wildfires is choking our air. We can't breathe when we're filled with anger and resentment, or are the targets of such. We can't breathe when our home is underwater, metaphorically in the economic sense or literally in the hurricane sense. We can't breathe when a virus is clogging our lungs or there's a knee on our neck. We can't breathe without trees. Now that we can see our present clearly, we have an opportunity to create a future that is inside of us right now. We, the board, and the employees that serve here at the district are the people who have been entrusted to care for the foundations of our community: water, electricity, and perhaps information. We have the power, both flowing through our transmission lines and our pipes, as well as our own human will. Let us strive to be open to new ideas, to sharing our visions and dreams, and to new ways to serve. Let's create systems of resilience and a life-saving community, a life-sustaining community. Let's plan for that future. And let's plan to protect and nourish all of the things that we love. And that's what I'm so looking forward to, our workshop and our strategic planning process. So I thank everybody very much for participating, and I will wind up my statement because time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, happy holidays, everyone. Last meeting of 2020. As Mike Salmon said, put it in a box and let's bury it in a wooden box so it can rot. So I'm ready to move on. I'm glad we're here, end of the year. I'm looking forward to some time off, as probably everyone is. So really happy to see us all here on the Zoom meeting and kick off and continue to push through strategic planning. Really excited for that. So thanks, Pam, for guiding us. Really love it. And here we go. So that's it for me on Director Update. Thank you. Okay, and then, now we have some special business. Straight into number 6. Okay, consideration of 2021 election of board officers. So Shauna, I believe you have a presentation for us.
I do, and I'll make it short.
Joe, is there any way, well, maybe Shauna, you could just hit Alt-A on Joe's keyboard. We were getting a lot of reverberation.
Well,
I did what? Oh, you need this.
Or just a mute. I'm just looking for a mute. I go to the shortcut and then.
Is that better?
There we go. Now you won't reverberate. Maybe just when you're done, put him back onto no mute, please.
I will do, sir.
Oh, it's still there.
Is it?
Oh, look at that. Oh, my guess of, all right.
It has to do with the speakers on both machines.
Here we are.
It has to do with what, Ian?
The speakers on both machines, your sound's coming through Joe's and then getting put back into your microphone. That's what the reverberation is.
Okay.
So I will make this quick. The special item tonight is the election of officers for 2021. In December, the board elects officers, the president and the vice president, to serve for 1 year. The chart here is the last years since 2009. And of course, there's no direct fiscal impact associated with this item. And I will turn it over to the board to nominate and elect a president and vice president for the next 12 months.
Thank you, Shauna. Do you want to unmute Joe?
Will do.
All right, great. Thank you. There we go. Joe, are you on? Are you live?
I'm live again. Look at me.
Okay.
Say,
Nice.
I'd like to make a motion. In our last election last year, we had Krista as the vice president, kind of planning on having her come up as president this year. So I'd like to nominate Krista as our president. Now, do we have to ask her?
Do you want to do vice president as well, Joe, and wrap it into one motion? That's okay. But if you don't want to, you don't have to.
Well, I was going to nominate Tony as vice president, if he would like to get back on there.
I wanted to pipe in that I'm available for vice president too.
Well, I nominated the president, and I was thinking about Tony as the vice president. So that was my nomination.
Okay, so that is your motion, Joe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Shauna, Joe is made a motion for VP of Tony and president of Krista.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Should we check to make sure that, I think Krista's okay with it, just making sure Tony's okay with it too.
Yeah, no, that's fine with me.
Okay.
What the heck? My crazy. Sorry.
Right. We can see you, Krista.
Yeah, all of a sudden my screen just, everything changed. Sorry. We're back. Okay.
Krista, are you okay with that nomination, Krista?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I got your back.
Thank you. I'd love to have you as a teammate, as always.
Okay. Looks like no other discussion on that one. So Shauna, could we have roll call, please?
Yes.
Public comment, President Bender?
Oh, thank you, Steve. Thank you. All right. Is there any public comment on this? Not seeing anyone in chat.
Nope. I do not have any emails, sir.
Got it. Okay. All right. Now that we're publicly commented legally, roll call, please.
Thank you. Director Harris?
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Vice President Finn?
Yes.
President Bender?
Yes.
Thank you.
Shauna, just remember, that's the last time you're going to say that. Nice.
Well, for at least the next couple years.
Right. 1 year. All right. Thank you, everyone. Krista, I don't have a gavel, but I am handing it over to you.
Yeah. There, I'll accept it as a pen.
Right. I just saw they finished up, what is it, the Rise of Skywalker. So Rey was handing over the lightsaber to...
I think that was great. A lightsaber. I would love to pass a lightsaber.
Right, so passing over the Saber. All right.
I saw the virtual handoff, so we're all good.
Okay, good.
I saw it.
Excellent. So now I get to continue the meeting. I just want to say thank you all for your confidence and your trust, and I will do my very best to maintain that. And with that being said, we're rolling, I believe, right into our district strategic planning workshop. Is that what we moved? That's what we moved in the agenda today. So I'd like to introduce, I guess, with no more ado, our esteemed guide in this process, Pam Homday.
Thank you. Congratulations, President Finn, Vice President Laliotis. Welcome, Kim, Director Harris, sorry. And it's good to see everyone tonight. We have had lots of activity over the last month or so, and let me get my screen share up. And go bye-bye here. Let's get slideshow. Okay, can everyone see this okay?
Yes.
Ready, set? Okay. So we wanted to start with just reviewing where we are in the process. And then we're going to have the pleasure of hearing high-level results from Adam Probolski and his firm on our community survey, which was completed last week. We want to apply the results of that community survey to the key board concepts that you identified in the board workshop number 2. And then we're going to prioritize those and turn them into questions that you really want to see drill down into these focus groups that we're going to have in early January. And then I'm going to give you a little prep for those focus groups so you can identify what focus groups, neighborhood focus groups you want to participate in, tell you more about the process. But the meat of tonight is really being able to apply the concepts, and I'll review those concepts that you identified at our second board workshop to the community survey. So let's continue with our review a little bit. I'm sure you all saw this beautiful picture of downtown Truckee that was just taken weeks ago. Isn't it just spectacular, our little town through all this COVID? Love this town. Remember, our workshops are more informal and staff are involved. And so after Adam presents his data, we're going to have 4 different discussion topics for everyone to participate in before we do some prioritization. And with our workshop, you identified these 4 key rules that you would like to see us live by: mutual respect, active listening, strategic thinking, meaning there's no wrong answer, and that we all collaborate. I also wanted just to review where we've been and where we're headed. We started with our first workshop, which was painting the landscape, where we identified strategic levers. And then we really reviewed the SWOT analysis that was done by all employees, and including the leadership team. You added some strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to those themes as a board. On October 21st, this is where we really focused on what community outreach was going to be like in a strategic plan. I just wanted to remind everyone that very few government entities decide to do community outreach because they usually have a general plan that requires a lot of community outreach. So for utilities, this is unique and it was very important to you as a board. Our strategic levers, we identified 8 of those, if you'll remember, and I'll show those to you next. And just remember that strategic levers really allow us to define exceptional performance, and they give us the roadmap to our goals. And then what you did was combine some of those levers into 5 strategic goals. And General Manager Wright, I think, Interim General Manager Wright, I think you were going to talk a little bit about why we skipped the November workshop.
Yeah, thank you, Pam. So the November workshop, we were approaching a board election or potential new board seating, and in the midst of a GM transition process. Staff felt it was important, along with confirmation from Ms. Hobday, that this particular workshop was of particular importance with the community social environmental responsibility model, and that it would probably be most beneficial to the board and the community if we rescheduled that meeting later in the process to ensure that we had all of the potential board seatings in place, and that we could really focus on this later on, probably in the second or third month of next year. And then in that process, or in that kind of rescheduling, we also noticed this is something for the board to consider and kind of evaluate over the next couple of weeks until the next regularly scheduled meeting, is that we inadvertently scheduled for a February 17th workshop that happens to be on the same week of the local school district ski skate week. And traditionally that's been a rather difficult week to schedule workshops because we have kids and, and there's a couple variables there, obviously with COVID. So for the board's consideration, we would like to schedule the CSER model workshop in February, a proposed workshop date in either the second or fourth week of February. So don't need an action item this evening, but for board consideration and kind of approval at the January 6th meeting, I believe. So we'll bring that back to you, but just over the holiday weeks, take that into consideration.
Oops, my computer's doing weird things. Okay, so looking at today, I just want to remind you that this is kind of a milestone workshop because we hear the first data from the community. And I'm so excited for you to meet Adam and for him to present the survey results. And based on the survey results, we're able to think about our focus groups and what we want to really drill down and ask them. And we can get pretty granular. You can ask them to prioritize things that you see in the survey. In January, we're going to then look at the results, the data that we get from our neighborhood focus groups, as well as we've been conducting benchmarking. And the benchmarking that Brian, Joe, and Stephen have done have presented amazing insights into state agency partners. You'll take all 3 of those sets of data, and we're going to perform a gap analysis and make sure you like and our 5 goals cover the things you want them to cover. Then in February, as Brian said, we're going to apply all of the community data to a new model that isn't used often in government, and it's a community social environmental responsibility model. And you'll be able to add a lot of things that you as a board are passionate about into this model. We want to also align our culture internally with our values, and we want to identify key projects and initiatives that we really want to focus on over the next 3 years. Then in March, we're going to have Mike with his expertise. We're going to do financial modeling, apply the money, honey, so to speak, with the goals. And you're going to get to prioritize what projects you think you've heard from the community, from staff, and from yourselves that you really want to begin marching. And we will adopt those strategic goals with key project as priorities in April, and have a written report to you, a full strategic plan in May. So that's just a review of where we're headed. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. So just remember, painting the landscape had 3 different components. Traditional, what do we do as a P.U.D. that's traditional? How do we want to innovate? And then visionary is how are we going to think with no box? And that's when we identify these 8 strategic levers. And just really impressed with the work that both staff and you as a board did together on identifying these levers. We then condensed the levers down to 5 strategic goals. And I want to review these because they're really important to think about as you hear the data from the community survey tonight. Manage for financial stability and resiliency. Environmental stewardship, create a sustainable, resilient environment for all of our communities. Engage with our customers and communities in a welcoming and transparent way to identify opportunities. Take the best of private sector thinking to modernize the utility and add value to our communities. And developing an inclusive culture drives organizational integration and success. And all of these goals are equal. We did not prioritize these, but number 3, as it's listed here, it was very important to you as a board and to staff to really validate what the community wants.
Pam, I got a question for you on that.
Yes.
Are those 5 board goals are they pretty much written in stone?
No.
Are there any?
No,
Okay.
not at all, Director Harris. And in January, once we see all the data, sometimes there are goals you want to add or modify, and that's expected.
I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we're a public agency and not a private one. I mean, I've worked private corporate for years and years, but working in the public eye and in the public agency, there's always a different spin on things. And sometimes I know with the private industry, it's tough to be public about things, but we are in the public industry, and there's a lot of public agencies that do great jobs. And I want to make sure that we also pull from the strong points of a public agency also.
Yes, I heard that, pulling from the strong, strengths. There was a lot of thinking that went into privates, why the board and staff wanted the best of private sector thinking. And I'll be sure to note, Director Harris, that we have a big conversation about that. So you can hear the background from the board and staff as to why that was a priority goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pam,
Okay.
just on the previous slide, the March 17th, just want to make sure we're open to moving that maybe to the first meeting in March, possibly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right there.
Yes, Director Bender had talked with me about this, and I have it noted, but I hadn't talked with Shauna or Brian about this. So, Brian, if we could note that Director Bender would really appreciate if it works for all the other board members to have this
a workshop moved out of that particular week.
Yeah, absolutely. If all the directors over the Christmas holiday can kind of review their calendars, we can have that, combine that discussion on January 6th with the February and March workshops.
Great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
And
Okay.
sorry, I'm new on board here, but are there, I like to look at things on the computers and everything, but sometimes with paper copies, I can make notes. And I don't know if, and then that way I can get a list of the dates and all that. Are the paper copies provided?
Brian, Shauna, I don't know the answer to that, so I need help.
I'm not sure if there was a binder of information provided to the previous, prior to me jumping on into this whole process.
So Director Harris, typically the PowerPoints or the presentations have not been included with the board packet and the staff reports. But if there's with the information of scheduling and calendaring, absolutely, we can, moving forward, put something together, and subsequent to this meeting, we can put a packet together.
Thank you.
Okay, to the most important part of tonight. This is so exciting to engage, involve, and enrich our community. And so workshop number 2, the board, we ask you what are concepts and ideas you really want to validate with our ratepayers and community. And these are direct quotes of your themes. And we, with the help of Adam's expertise, but our staff, our ELT, worked on putting questions together that were in the community survey that covered each one of your concepts. So, how does our community feel about electrifying Truckee? Ask about increased rates. Ask questions about broadband. Would ratepayers pay extra for this? Take the community's pulse on biomass, validate 100% renewable by 2027. Find out how the community feels about incorporating forest management into our portfolio. Ask about undergrounding electrical. Ask about replacing and rebuilding our water infrastructure. Remember, those were themes from our workshop. We turned those into questions. And here's your assignment right now. So the deliverable for as you listen and ask questions with Adam, we started with a question that's really important. Question number 1 is, what is the most important question facing our community today? Then questions 2, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 are your concepts. After the presentation, we're going to ask you, keeping track of those questions, those concepts that were really important to you, to identify your top 5 things that you want us to drill down for these focus groups. We are just going to have an hour with our focus groups in chat rooms with a facilitator in each. And this is an amazing opportunity for you to ask the community additional questions. So as we go through, as Adam goes through his presentation, really make notes, especially on these particular questions, 1, 2, and then 14 through 20, as you think about additional things you'd like to ask the community and the focus groups. Okay, with that, Adam, it's all yours. I'm going to stop share.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Pam. Thank you, directors. I'm going to share my screen and get right into it. We conducted a community survey, a customer satisfaction survey, And first, let me just tell you who we are real quick. Przewalski Research has been around for 28 years. We do work in mostly for public agencies all around the country. We happen to be in California, so a lot of our clients are here in the state. And we also do work in the corporate world and, gasp a little bit of politics. But that's kind of how we know we're good at what we do. We're the most accurate pollster in California this year, which means we predicted every outcome we were supposed to accurately. And we have clients from, East Bay Mud to Santa Clara Valley Water District on down to, Eastern Municipal Water District and everywhere in between. So the survey we conducted for Truckee Downer P.U.D. This is the methodology, but I'll make it real simple. 400 completed respondents among your customer and resident base within the district, which to some people might say, wait a second, that's not a lot. Your typical statewide survey has 900 respondents to 1,200. Your typical national survey has 2,500, the ones that get it right. So having 400 within the PUD is very robust. Most of our respondents choose to talk to us online, and they onboard into the same survey experience, whether they're sent an email or a text message. And the ones that choose to respond on the telephone, most of them talk to us on mobiles because that's just how America is today. But some still choose to talk to us on the landline. All on the phone calls are all live interviewers. In the online experience, also on telephone, if someone prefers Spanish, we switch to Spanish. They get to choose. 97% chose English, but 3% chose Spanish. And the people who spoke to us online or chose to respond online had the chance to do that on their computer or tablet or smartphone. It really didn't matter. It was up to them. So get right into it. Our first question, top issue. This is an open-ended question. Their opportunity to tell us what's kind of on top of their mind and what's concerning to them, not necessarily related to the PUD. Obviously, COVID's number one. Housing affordability, and then kind of interestingly juxtaposed, not quite congruent, is growth. So this is, to us, helpful for you to understand what their mindset is, not necessarily from a policy standpoint for you as an organization, but probably helpful. One of the things we like to point out, if there's something at 50, 60, 70%, there is a crisis at hand. And something you have to address at that moment. Clearly, COVID is top of mind, but there's nothing that kind of policy-wise that looks to be, something that you have to address at this moment. Just very helpful data. By the way, anytime there's an open-ended question that we have a response, as a part of the full reporting, which is going to be about that thick if you print it out, there are the verbatim responses. So the people who said housing affordability, you'll actually read the words that they say. You'll see the actual, the concern, and you'll also understand the experience of that person. While we won't have their individual name or information because we don't do that, reveal individual respondents, you'll see it's a Latina, woman who lives in the western part of the PUD and is a certain age, and you get a sense of who this person is and their experience in life. So I'm going to go quickly through things. We'll take questions at the end, of course, or if you need to interrupt me, but I want to give you the data. This is one of my favorite questions. This is kind of all those concepts that you've put out there as possible policy areas to pursue. And we get a sense of, from the public, which they support. And of course, they could choose as many as they want here. But you can see rising to the top is forest management. And then having broadband and offering a broadband internet and undergrounding electric power lines. You can see it kind of cascades down. But all of these have significant support. Clearly, there are some that have sizable majorities, and that could be useful, I guess, in a decision-making process. There's a recognition and understanding of some of these things clearly at in the 70% numbers. So going to where you get your news and information, we want to understand kind of where people live in a news world. So that informs your outreach, whether it comes to a focus group or just in general, how you're getting your message out there. And you can see people are tending to live online more so than, let's say, in a newspaper. These numbers obviously were different years ago. We dialed down, and I'm going to kind of move quickly through them, but something you can be very useful and your staff's going to use. When we look at the newspapers, you can see what newspaper they're reading. When we look at the radio, we can see what radio station they're listening to. So it could be when you see with television, you can see what TV channel they're watching. This is going to be helpful in kind of guiding where it is you spend your time doing your outreach. And then when it comes to, I'll go quickly to online, social media, where are they living? They're living on Facebook. It doesn't mean you dismiss Twitter. It just means it's just not that many people really making that their focus of where they get news and information. And maybe even Nextdoor or something that, I tend to think has a higher use, not necessarily in the P.U.D. So, I'm going to go to a question that I also really like a lot because you guys shined. Can you name the organization that provides water and electricity to your home? 64% can name you outright Truckee Donner P.U.D. Public Utility District. And a few others, P.U.D. and T.P.U.D., this is kind of what they said, really puts you at well over 70% of people being able to identify you as an organization. This is not necessarily normal. I get it, you're a small town and it's kind of, you have a better connection probably to the public, and you'll see that as a theme. But the truth is that in a lot of agencies, especially bigger ones, you don't have that real recognition. And kind of one of the questions is, well, how could that be? How could anyone not know who provides their power and electricity and water? Well, the truth is, if I don't pay the bill, or I've moved in 20 years ago and I put on auto pay and I don't really read the paper too much, there's a chance. So it's really impressive. You get an engaged public who knows who you are. There's going to be a lot of really kind of big smiles from me tonight and hopefully from you. First off, 72% approve the job you're doing. We've given the bare minimum explanation of who you are, 5-member government agency, and you're providing water and electric services. 72% approve. Let me explain it this way. Those are big, very impressive numbers. Sometimes academics might say, well, wait a second, that's a C-. The truth is that in America today, we don't agree on anything, right? More than, maybe 50% plus one. So when you have 72% agree on something, it's really kind of off the charts. And you'll see some numbers that are even more dramatically higher. We never want to dismiss the people that disapprove because they're relevant, of course, just as much as the people who approve. And we'll talk about them in a minute.
Adam, if
Yes.
I could add a comment to this for everyone. My Fortune 500 company clients die if they have 68%. They just go for every brass ring. This is phenomenal data at how the community sees you. And it's just to be applauded and sung from the highest trees around. I mean, it is, Adam. This is, in my line of work, I don't see this sort of approval of the job that you are doing often. So congratulations.
I'll put another filter on it. We have seen over the course of the last 5 years a precipitous drop, and I've said this in other forums, you may have seen me talk about it, a precipitous drop in support for American institutions. It's just a thing that we've experienced. And so it's been a challenge for government agencies and all kinds of other organizations. This is not the case for you. You've kind of kept yourself in a strong position, grew a lot of credibility, built up credibility here. So I want to look then at a small group, this 8.5%, and find out why they disapprove. And again, I'll couch this as 8.5%. You've got less than half of those people who say they have got issue with the rates they pay or mismanagement of funds. There's a talk about the former general manager and a payout. there's talk about these other items. I don't, again, want to dismiss any of these things, but these are very small numbers. People who are obviously very engaged and are familiar with what's happening in the district, but very small numbers. And you'll see later on things like rates are just fine as far as the broader public thinks. So next up, we asked them about the fact that you provide water and whether they approve or disapprove of the water utility services that they're getting. 81%, of course, overall, we always round up, approve of the job that you're doing with water. Big numbers, obviously a lot better than 72. It's big. Again, we have 5% that disapprove and a group that are unsure. Let me make a note here. And obviously we also categorize people who only get electricity, and then later when we get the people who only do water, small numbers. The unsure, I don't want to dismiss them either. I think it's important to understand that we have really high recognition in this district, but the fact is that a lot of people are, well, maybe not taking their kid to soccer anymore right now, but it's a lot of, work, home, grocery store, kids. It's not a lot of showing up at Truckee Downer P.U.D. Board meetings or engagement on a community level beyond their little world. So it's okay for people to not necessarily know what's going on in the district. I think it's a fun challenge to try to raise that awareness, but the truth is big numbers on approval. Let's look at the actually I think it's 4.8. We'll have to update that. 4.8% of people who say that they're unhappy with the water service. And again, it goes down to rates. Small group of people are concerned about rates. There's some things about quality and water pressure and things like that. Certainly things that staff should look into and potentially address, but small numbers. Let's look at how people look at you when it comes to providing electricity. 77% approve of the job you're doing with electricity. Again, 4.5% disapprove, and a chunk, of course, are only getting water. Let's look at that group of 4.5% who are not happy. There's a concern over power outages and over rates. Again, small group of people, just a handful in each of those categories, not to be ignored, but lion's share really supportive and approve of what you're doing. So do you believe water and electricity infrastructure are critical to any of the following? And so here we get these kind of value adjustments, value alignments. And this is where they see you as an organization and how it aligns with what they're dealing with in the public world. So the general quality of life, they think you are a direct part of and a critical part of their quality of life. They see you as a critical part of public health and fire protection and economy and jobs and them personally. And even in the watershed and the environment, and even a majority down to climate change and sustainability. So a majority to a very large majority truly believe that you are a part of their lives in all these different ways. And that gives you a high level of credibility. It also gives you a high level of responsibility, right? They think that you're kind of integrated into all these things. So you're going to have to be responsive, or at least you might want to be responsive on each one of these things and make sure you're kind of living up to that responsibility they think you have. Next, let's look at how much you pay. First, for water. One of my favorite questions, because we are not usually surprised. In this case, 53% say I pay just about the right amount. This I know is in the face of a recent rate increase. So I don't want to dismiss our 32% who say they pay too much. I definitely want to recognize the people 2% who say they pay too little. But our lion's share, right, our majority says just about right. And that's, I think, a great place to be. It gives you hopefully some assurance that you're in a strong position to charge the amount that's necessary to provide services. Next up, let's talk about the electricity bill. Here, it's 59% say they pay just about the right amount, and 22% say they pay too much, recognizing our 1% who say too little. Again, strong position for you to be able to set rates at the level necessary. Support or oppose achieving 100% renewable energy. or carbon free by 2027. 2/3 support for that. And you've got a group who are opposed to it. I think I'd always kind of comment that there's always going to be a group for whatever reason that's going to be opposed to something. Again, never want to dismiss them, but it's small comparatively to the 2/3 that agree that they want to be there in 2027. Next, we have a question about biomass, and we get a lot of information about biomass into one question. We talk about plant and animal waste. We talk about converting, soil and gaseous and liquid to gaseous and liquid fuels. We talk about mitigate wildfires in the community. We talk about a lot of different things in this question, help reduce pollution. And based on all that information in a very compact place, we get 64% for the local production support for the local production of biomass fuel. I expect there's a much more robust, longer term conversation about this subject matter. But if that's a part of a policy direction, you can know going forward, you're in a strong position to do that.
And Adam, if I could add, we're now on question 15. Remember the last question that was on renewable really started your concepts. And so these were the questions that staff and Adam and his staff put together to validate what you wanted to find out from the public. So just take notes on these numbers so we can discuss them. Thanks, Adam.
Sure.
I just got to say, Adam, wow, this is, having these numbers is just rad. Okay.
I know.
All right, carry on. Thank you.
All right. All right. So support for undergrounding power lines is at 74%. Let me say this. That included the possibility that would require raising rates. We didn't say how much. I didn't say it's 50 cents a month or $500 a year, but we said, do you want to underground power lines? And it might raise rates 74%. Great place to start if that's a policy direction you want to move in. In this case, 66% for investing in maintaining water infrastructure by replacing and rebuilding older existing facilities and pipelines. Again, at the expense of possibly having to raise rates. Big support, almost 2/3 support for that process. Again, recognizing you've got about 13% who oppose the idea. 78% support for bringing another broadband internet option to the community. Again, kind of off the chart kinds of numbers. If this is a policy direction you want to move in, big support. Establishing new rebate programs specifically for transitioning from electrification to electrification from natural gas powered appliances. And just want to point out, I know there's a big conversation out there about electrification in general, and that includes cars and other situations, other things. In this case, we drilled down to essentially the home and gas appliances. And here you have 55% support. There's opposition at 27%, obviously basically 2-to-1 support, but it was kind of a much more specific policy or much more specific thing that we're testing here. And you can imagine people conjuring the concern over, their home and a much more, this is much more inside my home than, power lines outside or some other bigger heady concept. This is much more personal to me. Hence, probably a higher number of people who oppose, but still broad majority supporting.
So just a reminder to the board, the discussion, I know you'll remember, but for Director Harris, we had a really robust discussion about, do people understand that electrification or electrifying their home means they get rid of their gas stove? And so we kind of talked about probably with restaurants and other people, what would our bet be? And we thought it'd be well below 50%. So that's kind of the history of that question.
So let's go to we explain where you're at as an agency. There's current mandates to get to renewable. Do you support or oppose the idea of getting there? just in general of getting to all renewable. 61% supports getting to that mandate much sooner. Big support for that idea. So these next questions, again, we like a lot. It's a series of questions that we ask in a lot of different agencies. And in first case, does the district care about the health and well-being of me and my family? 61%. This again goes back to this idea that you're a utility, and I don't want to minimize what you are and what you do, but essentially water turns on, it works, flips, the switch, the light turns on. There's an easy opportunity for me as a ratepayer, as a customer, as a resident, just to kind of say whatever. It works. I pay a bill. I'm done. But in this case, they truly believe that you are looking out for their health and their well-being. This is the kind of thing that, from an employee standpoint, I would love to know and should give you some comfort that there's really this beautiful connection between you as an agency and the public at large. They really believe that you are a part of their lives and looking out for them. So agree or disagree, you provide reliable service. 84% say you provide reliable service. Don't want to dismiss our 7% who say they disagree. And you certainly, I'm sure each of you can conjure a point in time where someone didn't have service in a moment where they necessarily wanted it. That happens to all utilities. But really, there's a big number, 84%, that truly thinks that you are providing a reliable service. So you provide a valuable service. The services you provide are valuable. 92% believe that your services are valuable. Again, we keep kind of upping the ante here with numbers. And believe me, there's agencies and there's moments in time where I have to deliver bad news. My tone is different in those moments. But here, 92% believe what you're doing is valuable. So here's one's a little different, but still, again, 2-to-1 agree. The fact that you communicate information well during electricity interruptions. Is there, and here I want to look at agree at 50%, so majority, a little over, and then unsure, 26%. They're just not, kind of engaged in that conversation. They just don't remember the last time there was an outage or it didn't really impact them. So really, you're at, 20, basically 76% that say we're all good. Looking at 24% who say they disagree. I'm sure there's opportunity for improvement, and we can look at doing that. Resolves my issues or problems quickly by phone, online chat, or email. So are you dealing with your customer service issues well? First, I'll look at the agree 48% and add that to the 32% say I've never had an issue that has to be resolved. We're basically at 80% who say all good. And looking always at the 9% who say they disagree. So we got to make sure we figure out how to fix that. You are now in the moment of we're talking about, does something give you more confidence or less confidence in the agency? In this case, we talk about community-owned, not-for-profit, and managed by the ratepayers. 56% are more confident, and 36% say it doesn't make any difference to them. So again, we're basically at over 90% saying that it's all good. 2% for some reason say it's less confident. Always going to be somebody who's a naysayer. Next up, 56% say they have more confidence knowing that you have energy saving programs, both and water saving programs. So generally, you're proactive in how to reduce my bill and save on energy and water. 56% say that gives them more confidence. And again, we're well into the 90% with the folks that say it just doesn't make a difference to me. It's not a priority for me. Very high positive numbers. 60% say they have more confidence knowing that you're going to exceed the state renewable energy mandate. So this is a lot of words, but first of all, that you exceed them now and that you're going to continue to exceed them over the course of time. 60% say they have more confidence. And again, a whole group say we just don't care, but it's a net positive for you. Good move. They're happy with what you're doing there. 68% say they have more confidence in you, knowing that you've kind of embarked on a greater attention to wildfire safety, increasing funding for wildfire safety by 400%, and having this wildfire mitigation plan. Also, by the way, you're removing trees, and I know that can be controversial to some people. So the entirety of your wildfire mitigation plan, with the prospect of removing trees and increasing funding, some of that could be positive for some people, negative. More than 2/3 have a greater level of confidence based on that. And again, you're well into the 90s with the folks who just doesn't matter to them. Really, really strong numbers, knowing that you can essentially be comforted that your policy direction and what you've done on this specifically has really been appreciated. And then 2/3 also knowing that you meet or support the fact or have more confidence in the fact that you have a greater level of, you exceed state and federal mandates for water quality. And we tell them about your conducting hundreds of lab tests, and from 50 different locations. We give them this picture of how you go about testing water quality. Really gives people a greater level of confidence. These are the kinds of things that are made for your newsletter, made for every time you go out into give a speech or a presentation in the community, made for the rotating social media message. This is the kind of stuff you'll talk about because they really appreciate, and broadly people really like it. We ask people, how do you want to engage essentially to resolve, to deal with issues, customer service issues, deal with your account? What I'll say is this, is we ask them first about a mobile app or online. We ask them about talking to a customer service rep or by mail. And essentially 57% choose the digital option, which is kind of the trend for, I think, for a lot of us. Some of us may prefer that more hands-on approach of talking to someone, but really the lion's share of people are looking to do it digitally, and less in the more paper or personal format. And so one of the things that we really like to ask, and what we really find on a regular basis, is this concept of kind of being compassionate for your neighbor. And the assistance programs that you have that have also been doubled during this COVID time has support at the 83% level. So if there was ever a moment where someone said, wait a second, we're being too generous here, or we're giving something away we might want to, you have broad support for making sure that people get the assistance that they might need. Looking at the possibility of someone having contacted the district for something over the course of the last last 12 months, most people haven't. 26% say they have, and some just don't remember or are not sure. We asked them, those people that had, how would you rate the customer experience? And 87% rate their customer experience highly. I'm sure Pam will speak to that later. Again, off the charts, this is one of those bellwether numbers that you should have comfort. Now, we don't want to dismiss these folks who say they had a bad experience, but they're a small group of folks. And let's look at what they had to say. The 12% who are unhappy were concerned about the fact that they didn't get a warning about a power outage. They thought someone was hard to get a hold of, and they had some other thoughts here. Not dismissing these, certainly things that staff may have answers for or a way to look into. But again, a small percentage of the folks of the 87% who were very high on the customer service. So a question that kind of is plaguing a lot of organizations: do we need to open up our front desk again at some point? And the plurality, 44% say no, I don't really care. 41% say yes, they want a place to go. And you've got a group who are unsure. Obviously, that's something for you to decide. But the point is, the plurality says it's just not that big of a deal. I don't need to be there at all. So that could be a helpful guide for you and staff. We wanted to know how people wanted to be communicated with. So when you're reaching out to them with whatever messaging, how do they want to be talked to? Email is number one. So that speaks to a robust email outreach program or discussions. Certainly inserts and bills, 26% say text messages, and it kind of goes down from there. But really, if you're wondering, should we email? Should we make that a regular part of our communication? The answer is yes. With that, that is the end of our presentation. I'll remind everyone, there's a whole lot of demographic data behind this. There's a whole lot of background data. We are available for briefings as per staff. If staff asks us to, we'll brief any subcommittee or any group as necessary, and develop customized reporting as appropriate. The final reporting is in the works and should be to you next week. And I really appreciate the opportunity. It's kind of fun when numbers are so good and positive with a public agency, and we get to tell you the good news.
So what we'd like to do, as Adam stops sharing his screen, is do you have technical questions of Adam? And remember, this isn't the only time we're going to really dive down into this data. This is the initial big picture in preparation for the focus groups. So before Adam leaves, are there technical questions that you would like to ask him?
I've got a quick question. Of the 400 respondents, how many did you reach out to initially?
Good point. So we have,
before you start, the other question I'm going to have is what percentage of those were commercial versus residential?
Good point. So we talked to, our focus was on residential customers. Some of the customers, of course, were commercial because they live in the community and they own commercial property or businesses. But our focus was on residential customers. And we have about, and I will get the answer specifically, but we have about a 27% response rate. So about 27% of the people we actually connect with actually complete the survey. So it's relatively high compared to what you might hear about in news where 1% of people respond or something like that. We had to have a high response rate because there's such a small community. We had to get responses from.
With 400, that's, let's just round it to 25%. So you went out to 1,600 people.
Yes, but keep in mind, we also emailed and texted a broader group. We were very inclusive because you only have about, I don't have numbers in front of me, 10, 12,000 people to talk to. So, we went out to a broader group. But yes, the answer is about a 27% response rate. And I'll get you the very specific numbers, though.
Okay. And were these focused on one neighborhood, or was it just kind of
no,
that comes with the demographic information?
Yeah, everything's demographic, but it was representative of the community. Now, we may have had a few extra women or a few fewer, people from the west part of the district or whatever, but our goal and we were successful in essentially matching the demographics geographically and demographically, age and gender and ethnicity and all those sorts of things.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Any other technical questions for Adam? Well, Adam, you did a yeoman's job, and thank you for you and your team who turned this data around. I don't know how you did it because you finished last week. Wasn't that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's give him a big round of applause. Awesome. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. Way to go.
Thumbs up.
Appreciate it. We'll look forward to what's next. We're always available. Thank you, folks.
Great. I also wanted to just commend the community outreach team, internal team, which is Stephen Poncelet and Ian and Shauna, myself, and then Andrea Gutierrez should be listening tonight. Really want a shout out because this community outreach is a huge undertaking. Really appreciate them. So I'm going to go back to screen share. And while I'm getting the screen share, Ryan,
I want to recognize that a lot of this, as I said in my opening, is that a lot of our success is due to the frontline employees who deal with the customers on a one-on-one basis. So I want to appreciate them.
Absolutely. We haven't gotten in. Director Harris, you're absolutely right. This blows the socks off everything, you guys. It's kudos to every staff member. All staff can feel so proud of this. And for you as a board and your leadership, this is tremendous data. And,
Yeah,
and I
Pam, I wanted to touch in on that. Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
Director Harris started off with the recollection back to Snowmageddon and all the great work. The results out of this survey they illustrate across all levels, the front line, the customer service, engineering, support. You can't accomplish these numbers without complete across the board, including the board themselves. These are incredible numbers. So kudos to everyone. We will be reaching out to staff after this and recognizing this is incredible numbers.
Yeah, as I bring my screen back up, to screen share. Brian, you may have to do this because I had some technical difficulty that Ian helped me with, but my screen is not being cooperative right now. Let's see if that might do it. Nope.
Yeah, we can see now. It went off.
Yeah, it was going back and forth. Brian, can you bring the PowerPoint up possibly? Or Ian?
Yes, I can. I got it ready.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Is this the one you're looking for?
Yeah, and then if we can go into slideshow.
Yep.
Or view from beginning.
Just tell me next slide and I'll change it when you need.
Yeah, let's go to slide 12. And let's go to the next slide, 13. I was guessing. Okay, so you guys, it's the time to talk about your ahas for both staff and board. And President Finn, would you kind of lead this discussion for us? What's everybody ahas? President Finn, you're on mute. There you go.
Couldn't find my unmute. Yeah, I think we should just start by going through the board members one by one and sort of talking about what their aha moments were. Would anybody like to start, or shall I? I can't see any.
President Finn, be sure you weave in staff like we always do too, when you
Absolutely.
think it's appropriate. Thank you.
Absolutely. I have gone to a weird view. I apologize. Technical difficulties are always there. I can't see my fellow board members, so I can't tell if people are raising their hands. Okay, here we go. You know what? We'll start. Jeff's face just came up. So Jeff, could you share with us your aha moments?
Yes, more than happy to. I just had one water question, Brian, real quick. Was it too high or too low water pressure, do you think, or do we not know the answer to that?
Customers tend not to be concerned too much about too high. There's infrastructure you can put in to mitigate that, pressure regulators, reducers. So too low of pressure is typically a more common complaint of that nature, and that's usually due to property location in proximity to their elevated storage tank or a pump station. So if you're in a higher elevation of a zone, you're closer to that water storage tank, you have less pressure than at the bottom.
Got it. Thank you. I just, it's like Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. This just really wraps a bow around 2020 for me. A lot of this, we talked about this. I've been thinking about the undergrounding, all these capital projects and 100% by 2027. And the validation, I mean, I'm smiling inside, outside. So, I mean, over 78% on broadband. Holy cow. I think that's validation. Let's start talking about LAFCO approvals, and doing it the right way. So excited about that. Biomass, that was, I was like, okay, do people really want it? And the answer is yes. All of these things I just get really excited about. So, wow, I really am kind of nerdy. So, the renewables, the biomass, undergrounding electrical with considering increasing electrical rates. That's a big one. People like it. People want to put stuff underground. We need to communicate. The electrification rebates, it's a big thing, pulling gas out of your house. The California Energy Commission is trying to push that with the 2019 Energy Code and all the future energy codes. So, that one was not as high. So I am interested in seeing, I tried to write down all the percentage points, but at some point, I'm sure, Pam, you're going to bring it in, how these stack up,
Yeah.
the biggest one to the smallest one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really big. And then, and I guess the one thing what another kind of interesting one was the protecting the ratepayers and opening the doors. And I guess COVID-19 is almost over. We see the light, but we need to hang on. So I am in full support of keeping the doors closed. Let's kick butt while we can behind closed doors. We're not going to spread the virus anymore in this community because there are so many people dead in Nevada County. There's over 30 now. So that's just scary. And I'm in full support of closing the doors and just let's hang in there. We're almost there. And let's keep our ratepayers safe as we can. So there we go. I yield my time, President Finn.
President Finn, you're muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Director Bender. And I think we're probably going to go around twice. First to hit our aha moments and then to the ideas and concepts that we think we may have missed asking about. But Director Harris, you are the next on my screen. So if you would like to share your responses, we'd love to hear them.
I would be happy to, and I'm unmuted, so that's good. And it's funny that to see that, people don't really need that human interaction or anything until, I brought up Snowmageddon. When people got a live person that it was located in Truckee, they were just flabbergasted because they tried to call other utility companies and they couldn't get through at all. And it was very frustrating. So that's one reason why it's so important to keep it community-based and community-oriented and, give people the human touch. Even though right now they say that they don't need it. But that also brings me to my next one is that, the IT department is going to be so critical for this because everything is going virtual. Ian and his staff have been wonderful. I just think about the mapping and the support that they give. I know that we can expand the website to be more user-friendly and all that, but I just...
I certainly have a concern that people don't really appreciate how much it's really going to cost. So that's where I'm saying that there's a lot of good concepts coming out that are going to require a lot of work to really drill down and decide, is this something that, this is something the community wants, is it something that the community can afford? But this is a place where you start to understand that there's support, and now we take it to the next step and figure out, what it is that they really that this community can afford. Just in summary, great job. Clearly indicative of the quality of our staff. and a lot of good concepts, and hopefully we can find some improvement, some ways to improve upon those numbers moving forward.
So I'd like to add, Vice President Laliotis, thank you so much for bringing this up so that I could share with all of you. You know, listening to Vice President Laliotis and his comments, there could be options for you as a board now, once we've shared all of our ahas and staff as well. But thinking about what you said as far as the cost of undergrounding, perhaps that would be a question you would want to ask in more detail in the focus groups. Or you might want to take, you know, first was high-speed broadband, then second was undergrounding electric. You may want to recommend to us that we take those two and really flesh them out as to cost. So I'm just giving those to you as examples based on what I heard Vice President Laliotis say as well. Thank you. President Finn.
Yeah, I'm going to echo some of that. I agree that there's more education that has to happen still with our constituents and ourselves. And before I really put in my 2 cents, I am going to open it up to staff. I do agree with Director Harris, and all the other directors have echoed this. When you get right down to it, it's the everyday actions of all of our employees that lead to numbers like this. That's, you know, we are actual people. They are actual people doing actual good work every single day. So I would like to get Brian and Joe and Ian and Shauna, you know, if just congratulations on on your ability to get us to this point. And if you have any thoughts or aha moments that occurred. And I'll start with Brian because I can see his face right in front of me too.
Thank you, President Finn. Yeah, I want to quickly defer to the team here that worked on the survey project and the outreach in addition with Adam. But the big aha for, you know, all of you have touched on it, incredible numbers, and the role that staff across all levels has played in this, undeniable, incredible work. I think that's where the community, this community of Truckee really finds its trust in the crews and the office staff, engineering, IT, fleet support, all of that. And this is evident in the results here. I'll defer to, I think we should start with Stephen Poncellet. He's worked real hard with Ian, Joe, and Mike on this project, but we'll start with Steve. Stephen, you have any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. You know, what great results. You know, that's decades of work in getting to those kind of numbers. And I think it really reflects the operational excellence that we have, along with, you know, our genuine relationships with the community. So I think that it's a great place to start. To echo Director Laliotis, there's a lot of great feedback in there that we need to digest. And, you know, I've always kind of said 10% of the people are going to hate us anyway. But, you know, even if it's 2 or 3 or 5, that's a lot of people. And we want to go ahead and make sure that we're understanding those concerns and addressing the ones that we can. I think it also shows that, you know, this community values this district. And, you know, while there's, you know, been, I think, an emotionally charged dialogue going on, I think we do need to keep, you know, when you look at the mission and who we serve, you know, I think we've done a great job, and I think we can do a better job.
Thank you, Stephen. And I really do appreciate your work on this. I feel like as our community liaison person, often you get the pointy end of the stick a lot. So you see a lot of what is happening in our community and help us work through those issues. And you're very right. We can't be dismissive of people who aren't fully in alignment with us. So your input is extremely valuable to us. Thank you. And I'm going to continue down the road. Who's to Ian? Ian, our unsung IT cyber hero.
Thanks. I think to echo a little bit of what Stephen said, the numbers you see are really the work of decades of people, and the people who have come before us have laid the foundation, and this team and the staff that have continued that excellence, and you're seeing that in these numbers. I think listening to Director Laviotis and seeing where we can improve, these numbers really give us some guideposts and a roadway of what we can do to roll up our sleeves and even get better than what these numbers improve. You look at some of those numbers, communication, and the avenues and medium that the customers want, that really gives us a good direction of how we can expand the communications and put it in an area and a space that they are looking for. And that improvement is what we're looking for in this, not just to pat ourselves on the back, but where can we improve and where can we continue to excel? And I think you'll see that deeper in some of these numbers as we dive in more into the survey. So.
Thank you, Ian. Yeah, absolutely. Apparently we need to be more on Facebook. Yay, more time on Facebook. What everybody wants to do. Let's see, Shauna, our process person extraordinary.
Process person. Thank you, President Finn. It was very exciting to see these numbers. I was amazed how much the community values the district as much as the district values the community. And in the end, it really showed me that we are walking our values and we are implementing them in all we do. And it was very exciting to see this excellent numbers.
Thank you, Shauna. Joe, would you like to share your ahas with us?
Yes, thank you, President Finn, members of the board. Again, I would echo what everybody else has said. These are really great numbers, much to be congratulatory to everyone for. And I would also like to thank all the community members who took the time out of their lives to participate in the survey. That was a lot of wonderful effort that we're going to benefit from. The entire community is going to benefit from. So a thank you to those 400 individuals and families who participated. I think, as a lot of people have said, this really, the community has strongly affirmed these ideas. But perhaps another way to look at it is that the board in coming up with these ideas has been very much in touch with the community. So congratulations to our board for coming up with these ideas and being so in touch with their constituents. So thank you for doing that. And I think the encouragement here is that, as many people have said, there's much we can work on to improve things, which we will do. But whatever we decide to do as we move forward with the strategic plan, whatever priorities the board sets at the end of this process, we have great support for. And I think that's an encouragement going forward. So thank you, President Finn.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Mr. Gross, would you like to add anything to this conversation as our counselor?
Thanks for asking me. Sure, I'll share a brief comment. I'm particularly struck by the near uniform positive responses, really kind of unheard of or unseen by me when I see these kinds of surveys. And one thought that really came to mind is, as a public entity, we tout our accessibility to the public. We are local. We are here. We meet here. We live here. You can come to our meetings and express your views. And yet, historically, we have very little public comment. We have very little public that comes. People are busy. It was recognized in the presentation, just how busy we all are. and most typically, we have folks that come to our meetings that have a particular issue, have a concern, they're maybe upset about something, and it can be sometimes you can you give that more weight because that's all you hear. You don't always hear the feedback, and of course, it's not to say that we ignore the 10% or the 5% that disagreed or think that we're not doing a good job. We always have room for improvement, and we can always do more. But if you were only to gauge how we were doing by the public that might come to our meetings, you might think there's a lot of discontent. When I think this survey shows that across the board on all of these, virtually all of these issues, there's just strong support for the district, the policies, the direction, the staff, the customer service, and everything. And that's just remarkable to me. Thanks.
President Finn, I'd like to add one more comment and thought that is something Adam really emphasized, but I want to reemphasize it for not only the board, but for staff. You're a utility. And when you think about a government entity, that the way the public sees you, and that thanks to the entire entity, every single staff member and the board, that you have a 72% approval rating. But what is the biggest aha to me is the quality of life expectation. And Adam talked about this, that this is a responsibility now that I certainly didn't realize. And the question was, do you believe water and electric infrastructure are critical to any of the following? And general quality of life to each person that responded personally, for climate change and sustainability, for fire protection, for watershed and environmental protection, for public health. I mean, these are things you just normally don't see. And what was the aha for me is how much you've all talked about the importance of being a community partner, and how this just really emphasizes not only does the community want you to be a community partner, they want you to help lead some of these efforts as well, and the responsibility. So that was another big aha for me that I'm not used to seeing at all with government organizations. Even cities right now are having a very, very difficult time, or at least my clients are. I don't know about Steve's, but I bet we could talk about that. President Finn, as you go into ideas or concepts that are missing, if you could use the umbrella of, remember that our next exercise is going to be to talk about the top 5 things we really want to talk about in these focus groups. So the umbrella here is there something that wasn't covered that you'd like for us to cover in the focus groups? Knowing that you want the focus groups to help you further prioritize some things, whether it's some additional education, having them prioritize 1, 2, or 3 things. But this next concept, President Finn, for you to facilitate is really under that focus area as we are looking at the focus groups.
Excellent. Yeah, and I'm just going to toss in my quick little aha, which is I am very gratified to learn that our community is in such alignment with us as a board, and some of the things that we have thought about and talked about that we thought were somewhat radical or somewhat off of the mainstream turn out to not be particularly, and they do have broad-based support. And I think our community is much more nuanced and informed than maybe I personally expected. So I'm extremely gratified that we are perceived as apolitical and that we contribute mightily to the quality of life in this town, because I do feel that we do. So well done. And moving on to our gaps. Are there things that we did miss that we think we are going to have to drill down in our focus groups that somehow didn't come up in this survey? Whether because on the front end we didn't get there with our priorities, or just as the course as this has unfolded, things occur, as you go along. And for example, Director Harris is now with us, and she's, wasn't here for that whole process. So let's help us fill in the gaps. Is there anything missing? Let's see, fellow board members, anybody like to start? I can't see everybody together. We can go in the same order. Director Bender. You may be muted because I can neither see nor hear you. There you are.
I was clicking on the video screen because we have the shared screen. So I just, the Facebook thing is really bothering me. My family watched the Social Dilemma stuff, and Zuckerberg's worth over $100 billion. And I understand that people are on Facebook, but it's like, do we really need to give this guy more money? Our money, ratepayer money. That's kind of like this it's like, if we could cut back the budget on Facebook for pushing out our message, I am totally into that. This guy doesn't need any more $100 billion of our extremely hard-earned money from this community. The missing things, I think Tony's right on. All this stuff's going to take time and take money. Everything is possible with time and money. How much can this community afford? So drilling down into that, I think, is a key thing for our top 5 items. I can't really think of anything else that we're missing. Just randomly collaboration popped up. That is part of our strategic plan. And, and just specifically thinking undergrounding electrical. Well, we worked with the town on undergrounding right in front of the P.U.D. and just taking advantages of these projects with the town, with other agencies, can reduce that cost. So, we don't want to, the public needs to know how much it's going to cost, but, we can do it smart and implement effectively or cost effectively. So I think that's it from my end. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bender. And you know what? That just reminded me, I missed Mr. Salmon in my asking for staff feedback, because I'm not seeing him on my screen. But we have to keep in mind, we all know that we have to look at everything through the financial lens. That is one of our priorities. And I was wondering, Mike, if you had anything, any aha moments before I go too far down the road.
Thanks for that, President Finn. No big ahas. A lot of stuff's already been mentioned. I think question 23 with the valuable services, the community recognizing how valuable the services are that we provide is very, very strong and telling. Also, to get 400 respondents regarding a utility survey, it just blows my mind. So that's awesome. Kudos to the Adam and Alfonso and his team for successfully executing on that. I think that's spectacular. Really like question 18 and its broadband support. That was very affirming. And then I think this is a good start to, no numbers on this, of course, but an awesome start to a roadmap for future deep dives. And I look forward to annually surveying our community regarding the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Let's see, Director Harris. What are the gaps that you're seeing?
It's kind of difficult to go through all those questions, and I'm trying to write little notes here and there. I'll kind of acknowledge, Jeff, that Facebook, as much as you don't like Zuckerberg, it's kind of the necessary evil because it is a communication tool that a lot of people do use. And my understanding is that Facebook is that the cost of it isn't as much as people think. But like I said, it's the necessary evil. If it helps reach some people, then it's helpful. But also the other sources. I'm happy to see that they did go out and they did get a good group of respondents, especially around campaign time, because I think we all got bombarded with calls and robocalls and all that kind of stuff. So to actually get the feedback, I think, is monumental. So that's really good. I know that there's been a lot of discussion about broadband, and looking through, being in HR and looking through job ads, there are other broadband companies that are actually recruiting in this area. So one thing would be to looking at the competition. What would a plan be if we do go down that road, as well as the biomass? So these are all new concepts to me being on the board, but those are always things to look into. But no, it's exciting. I love this kind of stuff. And I get excited about setting the goals and setting the tone and getting the strategic plan moving. So I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Harris. Director Aguera, would you like to add anything?
Oh, I was maybe going to quote a couple of our people, like Tony. You mentioned you wonder where these 4 to 7, 8% people come from that were disgruntled. Well, they're always there, whether it's the P.U.D. or just anything there is. Those people are always in the background there. So I'm glad they also had a say in the survey, and now we know that what the percentages are. And I'm still glad that we had such a good percentage rate on our survey. And then I also want to say a few words on what Ian said, that I think that the public or the ratepayers are used to having good service, and and we try to give them what they want, and they are satisfied, and that the infrastructure has been set, years ago. It's just kind of a history of ours now, and I think that our P.U.D. has always tried to, on everything we do, get a little bit ahead on what we do. And our staffs have been, I've wondered how they come up with stuff, and then we need it and we use it in the future. And so it's forethought and the setup that's been set up in the past. And I think this is why we have such a good respondent to our survey here. And because of our past crews and our people being up on it. There was one other thing I think I had here with the quality of life, Pam. I'd hate to be without lights and water in my house. I see these programs from Alaska, these Alaskan people, and some of them are, they're primitive. They got to cut the firewood. They got to go hunt their food and fish their food, and they have to do it. And it's got to be done within a period of time. And you know, we here in the cities, I mean, all we got to do is turn on a button or go to Safeway. The quality of life is here for us. And the P.U.D is one of the most important ones because of the lights and the water, I would say. I think I'm the man right there before I get down in here where I can't get out. So I think we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Director.
Kind of quality of life.
That's an extremely timely reminder of how much we really have to be grateful for. Director Laliotis.
Thanks, Krista, and thanks everyone, especially staff, for your comments. I want to key in on one thing that I heard Ian say, and that sort of resonated me back to the presentation, and that was communication. You know, Facebook aside, and you know, those political and social issues aside, you know, there is, I think, a lot to be learned and a lot to look into on how we better communicate with our customers. And so I don't think it's necessarily a concept that was missing, but it's, I think, a concept that really has significant, and not to say we don't do a good job, but these things change so quickly in our society and how we communicate. And the fact that practically everyone has a cell phone now that receives texts. I mean, there's endless opportunities to improve the way we communicate. And it was pretty clear people want to know about a power outage. And you know, I think there's a lot to learn, and I think that's a concept that that we can certainly drill down on and be better at, because the avenues are there to allow us to be better communicators in that respect. It's just a matter of really identifying how we do it, how much it's going to cost, but today, this is what our customers demand, is to be communicated with instantly. Unfortunately, that's tough, and it's tough as a utility to grow into that mentality. But it's becoming, it's the direction we have to go in. So I think that's really important for us to identify. And then, you know, as I said earlier, the costs of some of these concepts that the public is supportive of. I'm supportive of the same concepts, and it's just a matter of, you know, I have a concern that sometimes cost is not at the forefront of what people are thinking about, and we need to really be cognizant of not only the physical cost, but the cost of within the organization of pursuing some of these big ticket items, because there's a cost there as well. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say for now.
Vice President Laliotis, it sounds like you would really appreciate that two of the issues that we drilled down in focus groups is really talking more about how people want to be communicated with, improvement of timing of communication with power outages, having that sort of discussion, as well as maybe costing several or two or three of these top programs and having them rank those. Is that kind of where you're going with that?
Yeah, certainly. With the concept of cost, obviously there's a lot of work to be done to get to a level where we can communicate with some kind of educated approach. But certainly, you know, we need to progress those concepts and focus on cost. And as I said, not just physical cost to the customer, but what are the other costs to the organization?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, President Bender. President Finn, back to you.
So I definitely want staff, if you see us having missed anything in this discussion, I want to encourage you to step forward, but I don't necessarily want to shine the white hot lens of the board on you if you don't want to. I don't know, in facilitating Zoom meetings, if we have a way. I see Brian just unmuted. That is one way. I can tell you have something to say. Please, like I said, I would love to. We want your input, but I don't necessarily feel like I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable. Be like going down the line and saying you have to say something. So, Brian, you unmuted first.
Thank you, President Finn. And I wanted to just kind of expand and acknowledge Director Aliotis's point. One of the, as we kind of distill down for these focus group discussions, and these are big picture, big ticket, broad ideas that the board arrived at when we were setting potential goals. And then as we kind of distill down the other components, now that we've recognized, hey, the community really has an interest in these big picture ideas, we really start to distill down on things like cost, scope. Is it a P.U.D. venture? Is it a collaborative venture with other public agencies and other entities? And then we really start to, we also have a resource in this survey with, as Adam pointed out. So, when we talk about communication, there's actual notes taken in terms of each of the respondents. So if a power outage notification is a big ticket item that we need to distill down on, we can kind of look at the notes and through the focus groups, see really what we're talking about. Are we talking about planned outages? Are we talking about storm outages? Are we talking about app-based communication or some of the great work that our responding system from GIS currently uses? So, the goal here is that we're making investments, we're making strides forward. Let's make sure that as a strategic plan, we're going in the same direction the community wants us to. And this is going to be some great work as you start to help us distill down at the board's discretion here of what the focus groups are focused on. And so it's going to be great. And so all the points that each of the directors have come up with, I think we're on the same page here, and the focus groups are really going to reveal a lot of valuable information.
So, Ian, could you go back one slide, please? So what we want to do is prioritize your top 5 things that you want us, meaning the team, the leadership team, and myself, to really explore and put questions together for discussion topics for our neighborhood focus groups. And so, President Finn, if you would just rally the board in, really talking about what the top 5 things, maybe you only have 2, and that's fine too. But what are your top priorities you'd like to see us really ask the community in these focus groups? Remembering that focus groups are a great time for people to feel heard on topics that they've already responded to. So,
perfect. Well,
go for it.
I do feel like the board is probably pretty rallied. Yeah. If we would like to share what our top 5, and it seems like I'll let the board members speak for themselves. Director Bender.
Yeah, what is the list of we're looking at again, just to make sure I get that.
So there's no list, Jeff, other than let's go back into just scroll back in slides if you would. Go back to the concepts. I think it's the next slide right here.
Right there.
Yeah, right here. These were your concepts that we created questions about. And so the questions were really, from 14, there were question number 1, 2, and 14 through 20. And you were really interested in hearing what the public, felt about this. You don't have to stay with just these things, but what I can recommend is its focus groups should be helping you prioritize really difficult initiatives and projects.
Got it. Thank you.
For the strat plan.
Okay. I guess my 2 cents, I'm going to whittle this down to 3. I feel the other 4 are, like electrification. Well, the CEC, the California Energy Commission, is shoving that down our throats anyways. It's happening every 3 years with the new energy code. It's part of what we have to do and support our ratepayers with unfunded mandates. So it's not a big priority of mine. I think the 3 right off the top, the 3 big ones are biomass, 100% by 2020, and broadband. Undergrounding electrical, these are all just kind of boring things that we just need to do anyways, and just chip away at it. I just don't. Yeah, those are my 3 big items. They are big ticket items, and it'd be nice to drill down on prioritizing those 3.
And Director Bender, did you mean biomass or renewables?
Okay, my 3 is the 100% by 2020.
Okay.
Would be one of them. The second would be biomass, drilling down into.
Got it.
That's putting a biomass plant locally. We looked at this in Placer County, right by the transfer station many years ago. So, and then broadband, of course. What does that look like? We already have the backbone, and how do we let other people utilize that? Drilling down into broadband as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Director Bender. And I echo you. I think I don't necessarily. Well, again, let's continue. Director Harris, how about your priorities? Where do they align?
Am I limited? But I'm not limited to this list, correct?
No, that's correct. Just like Vice President Laliotis talked about communication and costs, the only thing you're limited to is the survey. And so we want to validate anything that you're interested in validating from this community survey in the focus groups.
Okay. I am really kind of drawn to the communications, the text, the technology. I'm not sure which bucket that would be included in. So, because I think that the communications would fit into incorporating forest management into our portfolio. So, if we need to notify people that there's control burns, but I know that that's the U.S. Forest Service, or that's more of a fire protection district avenue. So, in community is always important. The biomass, and that was a kind of a one I don't know much about, but broadband, I have heard that brought up a couple different times. So I think I'd stick with the biomass, or sorry, back up, with the broadband, and also the communications. So I think undergrounding electrical is a high ticket item. I understand Todd O'Donnell has looked into it several times, and it's just too big of a pill to swallow. Replacing and rebuilding water infrastructure, you guys just approved a rate increase. So I think that one's already taken care of. And then 100% renewables. I think that's important, but like Jeff said, it's coming down to regulations already is doing that. But how soon do people want renewables, and how can we incorporate it, take not just baby steps, but bigger steps towards renewables? So I'm kind of talking myself through this. So I would say the renewables, the communications and the technology tools, text, that, and then broadband.
Great.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you very much.
Walking ourselves through it. We're all in the same. That's why the workshops are so effective. It gives us a chance to do that.
I feel like I'm on that game show that's trying to get the right answer, and you talk through all of them. So
Yeah, exactly. And they're all right. I mean, that's what our rate papers are telling us through this survey, that everything we've been, there's not a wrong answer. So it's just, what do we think we need to get more information and more education on? So I think we're moving to Director Laliotis. Vice President Laliotis. Sorry.
I prefer director. Thank you. No, thank you, Krista. So top of my list is communication, no surprise. I agree with Jeff in some respects that there's some kind of no-brainers here. I tend to kind of, I guess I tend to focus on renewables. I'm kind of up in the air on it. I'm not saying I'm not supportive of it, is that we're doing such a fantastic job with renewables, and there's some lofty goals to get to 100%, further out there. The question really is, are we doing a good enough job to get there, or get there as reasonably best we can, or should we continue to should we make this a focus on our, within the strategic plan? I'm a little on the fence on that one because we're already doing such a fantastic job. So communication, I just really think broadband is a topic that really needs just so that uber focus to continue to drill down on. I agree with Jeff. Electrification, I think, is something that's just going to organically begin to manifest itself over time as California continues to grow these initiatives. But I near and dear is fire suppression. I really think that we've done a great job, but we have a lot more work to do within fire suppression. As a water purveyor, we're on the front lines, like it or not. We've invested a lot of money in our electric infrastructure and protecting it, and taking care of vegetation management for our electric infrastructure. But I think there's another component there that's going to continue to become more pressing in California is the infrastructure to fight fires. We haven't talked a lot about that, but as the insurance debacle continues to grow, and climate change continues to grow, there's all these things that are pointing to how we deal with wildfire. So I really think that there are more things out there that we need to focus on fire suppression. So I'd kind of lend myself to communication, broadband, fire suppression, and kind of alternatively would be renewables and undergrounding.
Tony, a question follow-up regarding the forest management. Just ensure, ask, you want more ideas from our ratepayers regarding for these focus groups regarding forest management. That's right. You're.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say, that forest management might be a bit outside of our, our true mission and scope. But fire suppression is a key factor in what we do,
right?
And what we are, what we provide. And so I don't want to lose sight of that in the strategic plan and some of these concepts. I don't think it was overly emphasized, and so this was perhaps a gap but fire suppression from a water system perspective is a highly technical approach, and maybe not something that the community super understands or can get into. But I think it's a focus area that the district should solidify, both on the water and electric side, because we are a key player in fire suppression.
Right. Yeah.
Just
Yes.
a reminder to everybody, because you don't have it in front of you, the kind of the ranking and percentages of these concepts were the highest, 78% broadband. Second highest was undergrounding at 74%. And then water infrastructure was number 3, and then a tie for 4th with biomass and renewables. So just kind of thinking, that was the priority from this survey. So Tony, what I heard you say, I want to make sure, excuse me, Director Laliotis, communication, broadband, let's explore maybe fire suppression or forest management, as Director Harris said, and renewables and undergrounding.
Yeah, so I guess my idea of fire suppression probably fits in with number 7, rebuilding our water infrastructure.
Okay.
Vegetation management for the electric utility is something we're already doing, and we're doing a great job, and we'll continue to do that. I think my concept of fire suppression fits more with number 7, of how do we continue to improve our water infrastructure with that as a priority.
Great, thank you. Back to you, President Finn.
I'm going to hand off to Director Aguera.
Can I actually ask Tony a question on this? So with the replacing and rebuilding our water infrastructure, anybody can answer this for me. There was an increase that just went through. Does the increase of the water rates to improve the water infrastructure, is this excluded? Is number 7 excluded from it, or has it already been included in the rate change? The rate increase.
Well, I think the rate increases were based on continuing to replace and rebuild our water infrastructure. It doesn't necessarily mean that where we're at provides enough information to support that, where we are with our fire suppression capabilities within our water infrastructure. So I don't want to lose sight that everything that we've done, or everything that we're planning on doing with these rate increases, is simply to fix an old water system. It's also to improve our fire suppression and our infrastructure to an ability to fight fire.
Thanks for clarifying. That makes a little better sense to me. Thanks.
Excellent. Director Aguera, if we could.
Yes. What do we want here? We want, okay, I'll start with renewable. And I have no problem in thinking that our staff can get us to 100%, especially by 27. And so I'm not too worried about the renewable thing. I know we're going to hit 100%. And we've been working on it, and we work on it. And that's how I wanted to end my last comments were, our infrastructure has been set up and everything in the past, as Ian said. I wish I could have said it the way I interpreted it from him. But every time our staff does anything, and they have been done, it's a plus. It's always ahead. It's never a behind thing. And I think this is why I've always said that we have the best P.U.D. in the state of California because of our staff and what they do about thinking about the future and how they get ahead on everything we do. Okay, that's enough on the renewables because I know we're going to get there. And on the undergrounding, I'm with Jeff. We're going to be hitting and missing that, and we're going to try to get as much done as we can. And I think we're doing pretty good as we go in the past year. And so until something breaks loose or we can think of how we can get everything underground. I like the way we've been doing or going as we are. We're trying to get everything underground. And then on the broadband, I think that's where the communications comes in. We put in the broadband, and I think maybe we ought to look into. I think the ratepayers want us to get that kind of going again. So we'll have to get the LAFCO again and start our process going on the broadband. And on biomass, I've got tongue in cheek because they had a trial biomass project going here. I don't know, it's been 10 years ago or so on, and they just disqualified it. They said no, it's not going to work. We're not going to do biomass and so on. Of course, it was 10 years ago, and there's so much more that's being found out about biomass, and maybe it's a good idea maybe to look into that again. So that's all I'm going to say about what I'm going to say. Thank you, Krista.
Thank you, Joe. It does sound like that we have our priorities have a lot of overlap. I think.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I do have. Oh, 4. I didn't have 5, but that's okay.
I don't think we really had 5. So, and they seem to be consistent. I just wanted. What did I want to say? I have notes. I also would like to use the opportunity to deepen a little bit with the focus groups, also the education component. A lot of these priorities dovetail. Biomass and forest management go hand in hand. They're extremely complementary. As with 100% renewables, that is the third one that it's extremely, and that's an education process. Like what really is biomass? How does it work? How would it work in our community? And again, how much would it cost? And what are the resources that are going to be need to be available to accomplish something like that? But when you pair it with forest management, when you pair it with collaborative opportunities between us and the town, between us and the Forest Service, between us and the fire district, between us and the community foundation, that's when we start seeing how these paths might be possible for us to walk without being, again, financially, all of these things are burdensome, when you break it out, but when you combine them, I think we have some real opportunities to accomplish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, 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 all at the same time, because they're in a lot of ways, they're the same thing. And again, if we have broad community support and collaborative opportunities with other major districts who play, such pivotal roles, I think those are things I would like to explore in our focus group as well, just the understanding of the interrelationship of all of these things. And then that all comes right back to communication and how do we reach people? How do we have robust discussions consistently accurately, and I just think it's the nut. It's such a puzzle. As a small business owner, I deal with it a lot. How do I reach people? Where are they? And sadly, they are on Facebook. But so I think that's as far as all of our board members. That's all I'm going to say. That's my prioritization. But I think we have a lot of.
We got stuff to do.
It's exciting.
President Chris, another thing I was going to say is maybe we can take a little recess for 5 minutes.
That's a great idea. I think so. I think 5 minutes is that. I agree. We all could use a little stretch and bio break, and then we'll wind this up.
Okay.
Okay, everybody. We'll see you on the flip side, which will be at. How about let's just make it straight up 6:30. 6 minutes. Okay.
Ian, could you move the slides forward to slide number 14? That one. And what I'm going to do is go through those next 3 slides pretty quickly, and just get what we need. President Finn, I'm just going to go through the next section and it won't take me that long.
Excellent. I was just thinking it's hard to keep these brief because there's so much to discuss, and I don't want anybody to be, short shrifted here.
It's such a luxury to have a workshop, and it's so wonderful to hear the discussion, and it's so helpful to all of us.
I absolutely agree. You think 3 hours would be plenty of time, but it's just not.
No.
We'll have to wind it up because we get tired and hungry. I get it.
I know. Is everyone back?
I think we're all, well, if this end up, I am.
I
This is
see
Bill.
Jack.
Okay.
I think the board is back.
Okay. So we're going to transition and go pretty quickly through this next section, but I want to be able to share with you some more details about these neighborhood focus groups and make sure you have calendars, calendar items, because January 5th is just going to be right around the corner. On January 5th, we'll be doing a train the trainer for you, the board, as well as the facilitators. And I want to give you kind of what it's going to be like. But first, let's just stick with this slide. And I didn't know who was going to be president or vice president, so I just put director. So please forgive me. But I just put assign people, and you can move yourselves around if these times don't work for you. Please just let Shauna know. We're pretty, if there's any way you could make either 2:30 to 3, 3:15 to 3:45, or 3:45 to 4:15, that would be helpful because we're going to be training all the other facilitators from 1 to 2:15. So we'd like to just then just continue that training with the board. And what the training is going to be is exactly taking you through how the focus groups, the neighborhood focus groups, are going to work, and giving you kind of a sense of Ian and I will go through a simulation. And then I'm going to have a script for the facilitators, and it's a very detailed script. And just so you will be aware of what will be happening in your focus group. And Ian, will you move on the next slide, please? So here are the focus groups, and we're pretty excited. Ian has spent a lot of time in figuring out what I'm going to tell you we're going to be doing, and we practiced it today, and it's really cool. I do it with other clients as well, but we're going to have chat rooms within each of these meetings. Now, to date, I just wanted you to see who we have registered as of yesterday and the numbers. And Truckee is predominantly late, and our goal was, our ultimate goal is to have 300 people who are going to join our focus groups. And normally, knowing what goes on last minute, if we have 300 that are registered, we can probably be assured of about 150. And that, for a community our size for focus groups, is excellent, an excellent number. So I want you to, I'm going to ask Stephen next. The next slide, Stephen is going to talk to you about what we're doing with outreach with the Spanish-speaking community. Because I know for you as a board, for staff, for myself, we really want the Spanish-speaking community to have a focus group. I want to explain, let's talk about Tahoe Donner and Donner Lake. We already have 93 people registered. We don't want to have more than 8 to 10 people in a chat room. I'd like to keep it at 8. That works really well. And so if you divide 8 into 93, you can see how many chat rooms we're going to have. And people are assigned, they come to the site, and then we pre-assign them to a chat room. And it works really, really cool, you guys. We practiced it today. And people are just moved into these chat rooms, and you each will be assigned to a chat room as well. And what we need to know tonight is which one of these neighborhood focus groups do you want to attend? And what we'd really appreciate is that there's one board member at each of these neighborhood focus groups, and some may have 3 or 4 chat rooms, while others may have as many as 10 to 14. And so I want you just to think about whether sometimes board members prefer to be in an area where their business is. Others like to be in a neighborhood to hear your own neighbors, communicate and talk. So I'm just going to kind of call each of your names and just tell me which focus group works the best for you. And remember, January 14th is a makeup group for all sessions. So President Finn.
Well, I live in Prosser and I work downtown, so I would ideally like the January 13th Prosser Grays Crossing Industrial Downtown.
Vice President Laliotis.
So obviously I'm in Sierra Meadows area. So I can do Sierra Meadows.
Right.
I also have ties to Tahoe Donner. So
okay, let's see where everybody else lands, and maybe we can do a little horse trading. Director Harris.
I was looking at the Tahoe Donner and Donner Lake one also, as well as the one on the 14th, Glenshire, OG and Olympic Heights.
Okay, so let's see where Director Bender lands.
Grace Crossing, that's where I'm at. So like to be a part of that one on the 13th. Just looking at the numbers, it's obvious we need help for Tahoe Donner. So, I'm happy to help out on that one as well.
And Joe, Director Aguera?
Well, I can go the Sierra Meadows one. I'd like to have that because I'm in Sierra Meadows here, and I'd like to talk to the neighbors. And also maybe I would probably be in on the Spanish one, just
that'd be great.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
So Pam, you need more than one person at each of these, or no?
No.
Okay.
You're welcome, but no, you'll be in different chat rooms. We'll divide you up, and I don't think I need Steve's help here, but I don't think we can have more than 2 directors.
Yeah.
At a meeting.
That's true. I was going to say,
that's correct.
Help with the Spanish speakers too.
Great.
who's that?
Director Harris is interested in being part of the Spanish speaking group, which is fantastic. Thank you. So let's come back to Tahoe Donner. Director Harris and Director Laliotis, do you both want to do Tahoe Donner? And I heard Director Bender talk about Tahoe Donner.
I only mentioned it just because of the sheer numbers. That's all.
Yeah,
So-
we will have, if there are 10 chat rooms, we'll have 10 facilitators.
Okay, I'm happy to be.
You will not need to facilitate, but we definitely want you participating.
Okay, yeah, I might then maybe just put me at the very bottom of that list then.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now I'm going to put Director Harris. Director Harris, would you prefer Tahoe Donner or Glenshire?
I can do either one. I'm easy.
Okay, thank you. And so Director Laliotis, would you do Tahoe Donner?
I can do Todd Honor.
That'd be great because it sounds like Joe wants to do Sierra Meadows. Okay, we'll get these out to you, and I'll ask Shauna if you could confirm times with people for the trainings just to make sure it fits work days. And I want you to know that it's been an all-out effort. I heard what you said, Director Bender, but Facebook and Twitter, we're on Instagram. To get these numbers right now, I was hoping for, if we had 150 going into Christmas, I was going to be happy. So we have a big push.
Pam, were you shooting for 300 on this group?
What we're shooting for is a number by January 6th of 300 that have registered. And then the night of January 6th, we're going to send confirmations by email, which just happens to be what the survey says our people like to be communicated with, by email to ask everyone to confirm that they are attending and then giving them the Zoom site to come in. So I would say, again, you usually get half of the people that register. So if we have 300 registered, we'll be happy if we have 150 attending. And let's hope there's not a big snowstorm before any of these nights and that people want to Zoom anyway. Let's go to the next slide, Ian. And I just want to, again, recognize our communication, community outreach team, which has been led by Stephen Poncelet, and Ian has been part of this, and Shauna and Andrea Gutierrez, who is our social media guru. I've joined that group as well. And Stephen, will you just explain what we're doing with the Spanish-speaking focus group strategy quickly?
All right. Thank you, Pam, and good evening, President Finn and board. So we've done a lot of outreach, and getting this many Zoom signups, almost 2 months, 6 weeks before an event is unusual for Truckee, and I think it does show the awareness. When we started the process, we really identified 2 customer classes that we characterized as hard to reach. And we don't know if they're hard to reach or they just don't care or they're not interested, but historically we've struggled to get them to engage directly in our outreach and our requests for inputs. So we, put a circle around them, and one is the under 35 group. And through our partners and our direct outreach, we're doing what we can. And a lot of the digital work is to really communicate in a format and a language that speaks directly to that younger crew. The second group is our Spanish-speaking Hispanic population, who represent a fairly large percentage of our customer base. And again, we've had a hard time engaging with them. So we drew a circle around it and we decided to highlight that. And as you can see through our traditional outreach and everything that, got over 150 signups, we're 0 on the Spanish speaking focus groups. So we're really doing a, kind of press around that. Our main partner in this effort is Sierra Community House, a former FRC. They run our payment assistance program and our COVID-19 customer relief program. They have strong relationships into our Spanish-speaking community and through the promotoras who live in the neighborhoods around our community. They actually have boots on the ground in terms of direct outreach. So I've been spending time with Paul Bancroft of Sierra Community House and Anival, who is their director of community outreach, and Felicity, who works directly with the promotoras. And we have had some pretty long conversations about how do we do this? You know, what can we do to get the word out? So we've put together, and we're literally launching today on this, a package of information to help them promote our focus group on January 12th at 5:30. We have our very slick website that Andrea and Ian worked on that we've translated into Spanish, so that if we can get them to the register page and to the website, that'll be, hopefully very understandable and user friendly. We have a Spanish flyer, and we're finalizing a Spanish social media toolkit that we will provide to Sierra Community House and other partners to help them promote. I talked about the website. We've put together talking points that we translated into Spanish on why does the P.U.D. want to hear from the Spanish-speaking community, and why do you want to tell us what you think? And so we're really trying to produce a compelling story. And then finally, in traditional community outreach events, if you want people to show up, you kind of tend to incent them to come. One of the ways you do that is food and daycare. Not something that we're going to do on a Zoom meeting, but another thing was gifts, swag. And so we have put together 100 gift bags that I'm delivering tomorrow morning to Sierra Community House's headquarters, and it includes a flyer for the event, of course, in Spanish, a TD-P.U.D. water bottle, an LED light, one of our LED safety lights, the one that sticks on the refrigerator, some pencils and rulers for the kids. And it's just an awareness grabber and a thank you for registering for the focus groups. So that's primarily being done with Sierra Community House. I can imagine it'll take a few days to get into their system and into their partners. And then I'm hoping over the next few weeks, we're going to start to see those registration come in. In parallel, we're working out with the schools, because the school has very robust outreach programs. And that's specifically working with Kelly Twomey and Barbara Kane. And again, the same package minus the gift bags will go to them. And we're going to ask them to help and support them in any way we can. And then we're working with all of our partners. So Allison Schwedner at the Community Collaborative, for example, that has a lot of our social service nonprofits. And so we're really kind of boots on the ground, open to suggestions on how, what else we can do. I can't say that I know the outcome of this effort because we haven't had great success in the past. But like Pam Hobday said, it's a hard nut to crack. And we're going to bang our head against that nut as hard as we can. Pam, you're muted.
Thank you. I just saw that. Thanks to Stephen and the team. It's a lot of heavy lifting to do right before the holidays, and just so greatly appreciated all of staff's efforts. So if you think about when we first talked about strategic planning and community outreach, we're right in the thick of it, and just want to encourage all of you, as you're on other Zoom meetings or with colleagues, encourage everyone to register for these focus groups. Just have everyone. And it's so easy. It's on mobile. You go to our website. There's access on Jeff's favorite, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And Andrea Gutierrez has just done an amazing job. And now, of course, the Facebook page for these focus groups is in Spanish as well. So please, we need all of you really turning outward to help us get to that 300 number. Next slide, please, Ian. And I just wanted to end my part of the workshop and Adam's and just, I want to again just honor staff for this amazing, amazing community outreach survey report. It indicates years and years of hard work and focus and enthusiasm. And I wanted to thank each of you for your vision and the work you did last year and this year, and looking forward to having all 5 of you feel that you're just can jump in this water, right?
Right.
You just need to jump right in this water right now. But wanted you to, feel happy holidays from me. Stay safe, healthy, and happy. And thank you so much for the opportunity for this workshop tonight. And thank you, President Finn.
Well, thank you. I want to say very much the same things. Thank you all, everybody here tonight. Uh-oh. Can you still hear me?
Yes, you're on.
I disappeared. Just for all the time, the thought, the work that has gone into this, all with the goal of helping us and the district be as successful as we can be with the strategic planning process. So I really thank you all very much. And on that note, we're shifting back to the regular meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Wow. That's a lot of, we might need to take another break, but I don't think our meeting is very long. So going back to what we need to accomplish, I think we're on action item number 7. I want to confirm that with Brian.
Yeah, this evening we have Joe Horvath doing a presentation on an item number 7.
Perfect. Consideration of a 5-year market power purchase agreement with UAMPS. So Joe, take it away.
Great. Thank you, President Finn, members of the board. Good evening. I'll try to be as concise and brief as possible. Let me share my screen to pull up the presentation. And again, I would be happy to answer any questions along the way, so please feel free to stop me. This is action item number 7. So the district has an existing 5-year market power purchase contract with UAMPS. The term began in April of 2017 and ends about 1.5 years from now in 2022. This contract represents about 35% of the district's annual energy requirements, and it is priced at $46 per megawatt hour, Market power is shaped and scheduled to the district's load profile. This helps to fill energy gaps in our portfolio. And so the market power purchase is an important part of our overall portfolio. This allows the district to deliver low-cost power to reliably meet our customer loads. UAMPS solicited proposals from qualified vendors for a new 5-year market purchase. And as the name implies, we need to do such a purchase every 5 years, along with all the other UAMPS members. So the term of this purchase starts when our existing one ends, and then goes on for 5 years to the end of March 2027. The good news is that all proposals reflected that energy forward prices across the Western market are really low in this time frame, in that 5-year time frame. And the recommended proposal includes monthly load shaping unique to the district and other members over that term. The good news is that the price is much lower than our existing one. It is $35 per megawatt hour on average. And also, it's delivered in Nevada, which helps to reduce transmission costs. The summary of this proposal is in the table before you. The big takeaways here again are the reduction in overall energy requirements, which I'll be speaking about in a moment, the overall reduction in energy that this part of our portfolio represents. I'll speak on this on the next slide. And that the price is lower, $46 existing, $35 proposed, and that the point of delivery is in Nevada. So this again will decrease our amount of energy each year in the market purchase. What it represents, it used to represent 35% of our annual requirements. Now it's only representing 20. The question is why? And this is very simple. It's due to the planned addition of the Red Mesa Solar Project, which is going to come online no later than June 1st of 2022, so about a year and a half from now. And Red Mesa is expected to supply about 10%, in excess of 10% of our annual energy requirements. You may also ask about the UAMPS power pool. Prices should also be low in this time frame due to market forces. However, the pool is subject to daily and hourly market price fluctuations. And so there's a greater amount of risk in entering into, there's a greater amount of risk associated with just buying from the pool on a daily basis rather than entering into a long-term contract. So with the lower price of the proposed product at $35 per megawatt hour compared to $46, this should really help stabilize any rate impacts to our customers as compared to purchasing power from the market on a daily basis. And the market purchase continues to be a critical resource for the district and to help ensure our resource adequacy. This is especially true during the winter months when the district experiences peak loads. And again, this product is shaped to our load profile to fill in those gaps. So with the low forward prices and a 5-year term, entering into another 5-year market power purchase is recommended to meet our load requirements through the year 2027. And this summarizes what we've previously talked about, that the price is lower for the new one, and that it should help stabilize any rate impacts through 2027. And so staff's recommendation is for the board to authorize the general manager to execute the confirmation to lock in transaction confirmation for the firm power supply project, attachment 1 with Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems, or UAMPS, and all necessary documents for the purchase of market power priced at approximately $35 per megawatt hour on average for a 5-year period starting in April 2022 and ending in March 2027. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Joe. That was quite a mouthful at the end there.
Yes.
Members of the board, does anybody have any questions for Joe?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Joe. Joe, you say it's delivered to Nevada. How do we get it?
Well, we have that's a great question. We have a transmission agreement with NV Energy.
Oh,
so we can any power that's delivered within Nevada in their transmission system we can receive.
so we can get Energy Nevada wheeling then.
Yes.
I mean, they just transfer it to us down here or up
Correct.
here.
That's the way it currently works right now.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought that the power came right to us.
Well, the power through UAMPS, the delivery point from the UAMPS system is in the eastern part of Nevada.
Oh, okay.
It's at the Gonder substation. But with our transmission agreement with NV Energy, if there's generation located anywhere within Nevada, NV Energy's system, we can access it across their existing transmission network.
Good. Thank you. Thank you.
I've also got a question. The question I had is, when you're executing this, I think you meant that authorize the interim general manager, but that's, just administrative if we go to approve this. But you mentioned that we lock in confirmation, citing the confirmation in all necessary documents. What do you mean by all necessary documents?
Yeah, Director Harris, that's just a phrase we've used in the past to make sure that if there's something that was left out or to cover something inadvertently, administratively, that we had authority to sign what was required.
Kim, you're muted.
It wouldn't, sorry, thanks. It wouldn't go outside of the scope of what's being confirmed in this confirmation agreement.
That's correct.
Director Bender, do you have any questions for Joe?
None. We need it. Let's do it. It's cheap, and we've done it for decades. So it fills in that gap, as you said. So, and excellent pricing. So thanks, Joe.
Director Laliotis?
Just want to make sure there's no public comment on this item.
I was going to hit that right after all of our directors' comments.
Okay. No real comments. Just a couple things, Joe. That you mentioned that you anticipated filling about 20% of our load profile. Is that estimated? Is that a goal? What is that number?
It's an estimate. It's a round number. That's probably what we can expect on average. But of course, there's some years we have more. A lot of our resources are very or can be intermittent or variable each year. So the wind blows more or less this year, one year or the other, along with hydro and those. So there is variability in the amount, but it will be approximately 20%.
So is there a minimum purchase amount that we would be signing on to with this agreement, or we can buy as much or as little as we want?
Yes, there is a minimum, and that's part of the attachment number 1. It details the amounts by month over that 5-year term.
So on that, you might be able to summarize that for me in the language of percentage of our load. If we were to purchase the minimum, where would that leave us as far as our, what it would contribute to our load profile?
Well, this would be, again, about that 20%. Again, it's just an estimate based on the variability of other resources. But these would be the amounts. This is the amounts based on, this is the amounts based on our load profile that UAMPS has, and that taking into account all our other generation. So this is that gap that's required.
No, understood. I was just trying to understand if that 20% means essentially we'd be buying the minimum amount that we would be required under that contract, or if we, found some other resources and were able to get that number down to 10%, would there be an impact or a penalty to our contract with for market purchase?
Yes, essentially what we would have to do, we would have to sell. These are the amounts that we were scheduling every month for resource adequacy to meet our loads. So if we added other resources, we would have to sell off this or other resources into the market.
So Joe, if I might add, just for clarification, the way the market price works, there's kind of a low end and high end around that 20%, and there's a different rate associated with that. So the overall market price is about $35, and that's based on that 20%, carrying that 20% across the purchase. And if we vary from that, there's a variable price change too in that market.
Yeah, good question, General Manager. What's happening is if you look on the attachment 1, it kind of gets into the weeds of the pricing, but LLH price is low load hour price. That's a technical term, and it's tied to an 8-hour window between the hours of 10 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning. HLH price is another technical term. That's a 16-hour window. That's between the hours of 6 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock at night. So those two prices cover a 24-hour day. So it depends on when each amount, and there's an amount listed for each time period. So when you run the numbers for each part of the day under each month and you calculate the average, that's where I've come up with the $35 an hour, megawatt hour on average.
So it looks like you're forecasting primarily the months of December, January, February, March to use this contract.
That's correct. Other UAMPS members need the power every month. And if you look at our existing 5-year market purchase, we are also purchasing power every month. But again, with the addition of Red Mesa, that's filling in enough power during the months, the 8 months, largely from the spring up until the winter, where we don't need to buy market power. But again, we are a winter peaking system. And so we have a gap in the December through March timeframe.
Cool, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Awesome. Yeah, I think everybody sort of covered the remarks I would have had. I think it's good news. I'm happy with the 5-year time frame. It's not too long. If we line up other resources, that gives us an opportunity to do that and still abide by our contract and not have to break it in any way and cost us more money. And I'm very happy with the rates. $10 less, that's quite a chunk. So yay, low energy costs. Okay, is there any public comment, Shauna?
No, Madam President, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion?
We had the same contract with these people for years anyway. This is a contract that we do need. And I move that we authorize the general manager to execute the confirmation lock-in transaction confirmation for the firm power supply project, attachment 1 with Utah Associated Municipal Power Systems, and all necessary documents for the purchase of market power priced at approximately $35 per megawatt hour on average for a 5-year period started in April of 2022 and ending in March of 2027. And I think that's pretty good. Of course, we're only using 20%, right, Joe, instead of the 35 we were before.
That's correct.
That's why the price dropped, right? Part of it.
Thank you, Director.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Shauna, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, thank you. Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Laliotis?
Yes.
Director, my apologies, that would be Vice President Laliotis. Director Harris?
Yes.
Director Bender?
Yes.
And President Finn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Back to action item number 8. the selection of a general manager succession ad hoc committee, to establish general manager succession ad hoc committee and appoint 2 directors to serve the duration of the ad hoc committee. Shauna, I believe that you are presenting this for us this evening.
Yes, ma'am. Let me share my screen. So tonight we have action number 8 is establish the general manager succession ad hoc committee. The board establishes ad hoc committees. They are specific in their tasks, they're advisory to the board, and they're appointed by the board. There's less than a quorum. In our case, that would be 2 members. They're defined for a certain purpose and time frame, and they'll report to the board for recommendation or action. The transition to a new general manager and an interim general manager negotiating with Brian Wright. We also need a successful transition plan and process for the new general manager position. There's no direct fiscal impact associated with this item. And I will turn it over to the board to appoint 2 board members to serve on the general manager succession ad hoc committee.
We can't hear you, Krista. Krista, you're muted.
The muting. Thank you, Shauna, for your presentation. My fellow board, do we have any questions, board members?
I do have a question here. So what qualifies a person to be an interim general manager? I believe that we've had several different people on staff that have acted as the interim general manager. So what's the minimum qualifications for that job?
And how is that relating to the question which is before us, which is the selection of the ad hoc committee?
Well, I think part of it is that it also it talks about doing an interim GM contract.
As we have already appointed Brian Wright as the interim general manager, so that is not before us at this moment.
Okay, is the interim general manager duties, is that ever shared? Like what I'm trying to do is there's probably other qualified people on our staff too that I know may have been appointed in the past, and I'm just trying to give other people a chance at just trying to change it up a little bit and allowing an interim general manager to be filled by other people on staff.
Well, again, that is not the question before us at the moment. We have already made that decision. We have appointed Brian Wright as our interim general manager, and I don't think we're reopening that discussion.
Okay. I want to offer up that I have HR experience with recruiting and everything, and I would love to be on this ad hoc committee.
Thank you, Director Harris. Do we have any other board members that have any questions or comments?
I was just going to recommend Tony, and now that we have Kim volunteered, maybe that would be the second one. If Tony would like to take it again. Tony, you were on the last one, were you not?
Yeah, I was on the last one. I'm not 100% sure yet, but let's go around the table and have more discussion.
Yeah, because I think you did a real good job bringing the information back to the board and getting it and being on the job. That's why I recommended you too.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
Director Bender?
Okay, just unmuted. So, Joe, did you make a motion?
I have, pardon me, I'm sorry, because I have not yet asked for public comment or for a motion. So we're still in the discussion moment.
Yeah, Tony and Krista, you guys did it the last time. there was about a year and a half worth of work that has gone into that. So there, with our consultant, with staff, with the executive leadership team.
Exactly. Sorry. Could I pipe in with discussion, or I'll wait until Jeff is done?
Yeah, no, I think I don't need to discuss anything more. You know, just Robert's Rules of Orders, just an FYI, Joe did make a motion. I do not intend to second that.
I made a motion.
I was pretty sure Joe, I'm pretty sure Joe, I heard him make a motion. And
on the last subject I did, but not on this one. I was just.
Oh, okay. All right.
Here.
Yeah, I don't need to, I feel like I don't need to discuss anything.
Okay.
Anything more. All right. So no motion, right, Joe?
Okay.
No motion.
Okay.
I recommended, it said recommendation, so I recommended and spoke my piece. Okay.
Thank you. Do any other board members have in this discussion moment anything else they would like to contribute?
I think that the work has been done, absolutely, and that base has been set, which is awesome. I think a fresh pair of eyes on it to try to improve upon what was already done, in making sure that the process is followed appropriately. And I'm excited about it. You know, I'm excited. That was one of the things that I, ran on is being participatory with, help with the selection of the new general manager and making this place a success. So that's part of the reason why I'm kind of throwing my hat into the ring to help with this process.
Thank you, Director Harris. And I will also just say I'm very happy to continue to serve if that is the will of the rest of the board. So now I'm going to call for public comment. Donna, do we have any public comment on this matter?
No, Madam President.
Thank you. And now I will ask, does anybody have a motion?
I move to appoint me and Tony Laliotis on the ad hoc committee for selecting the next general manager. I don't have the thing in front of me. So let me go back. To establish the general manager succession ad hoc committee, I nominate me and Tony Laliotis to be appointed to serve the duration of the ad hoc committee.
And do I have a second?
I'll second it. I'll second it. Did you hear me? I'm this Joe.
I did. I heard you. Do we have, Shauna, could we have a vote, please?
Absolutely. Director Harris? You're muted.
Sorry, yes.
Director Aguirre?
Yes. Second it.
Director Bender?
No.
Vice President Laliotis?
Yeah, sure.
And President Finn?
Yes. We had. And I think that is the motion. And we have passed our new ad hoc committee. And I muted myself in the middle of that. So our new ad hoc committee are Director Laliotis and Director Harris. Which moves us along to item number 9. Consideration of a memorandum of understanding with the town of Truckee for the use of the town's fueling facilities and funding of a new fuel tank.
Well, good evening again, President Finn, members of the board. This is action item number 9. I'll go to share my screen. And technology is working pretty well tonight, so thankful for that. All right. The district requires access to local fueling facilities for our fleet vehicles, for our equipment, and for our emergency generators on a year-round basis. And we do have some challenges in the winter months, and these are related to one, some of our existing fueling facilities don't have backup generation. And as much as I hate to admit it, we occasionally have outages during the winter, and the ability to fuel our vehicles and other equipment is pretty critical. And also during the winter, due to weather and traffic issues, there's a concern about having the accessibility of those resupply trucks coming to Truckee during those conditions. And then you'll see what you may be wondering what our annual fuel usage is across the district, and diesels. So diesel's a little over 18,000 gallons and gasoline a little over 16,000 gallons. So staff initiated discussions with the town of Truckee staff in July of this year regarding the idea of sharing fueling facilities. And some of the advantages include cost savings, and this would be due to economies of scale, the ability to use renewable diesel, which has a lower GHG emissions impact compared to petroleum-based diesel. And unlike the existing existing fueling facilities, the town's facility has backup generation. The district and town staff proposed a pilot project to use the town's facility. The term of this project would be 3 months, so January, February, and March of the coming year. And then depending on the outcome, the district can enter into a long-term fuel sharing agreement. Again, if that pilot project were successful, we could enter into the long-term agreement. The details of such an agreement would be as follows. The district would pay a fair share portion of the existing 20,000 gallon tank. This tank is divided up inside with 14,000 gallons of diesel and 6,000 gallons of gasoline. The district would pay a fair share portion of the second 20,000 gallon tank to be installed at the town yard. And the second tank allows for full trailer amounts to be delivered, an entire truckload of product. This, of course, would be add to the cost savings. It would also enable the town and us to switch to a renewable diesel product, and it would help ensure an uninterrupted supply of fuel. The benefits to such a long-term agreement would be that we would have secure access to, in the winter months, to serve our customers. For the reasons mentioned, it would have backup generation. Also, the fueling availability would be in excess of our, at least on the diesel side, would be excess of our yearly requirement. And the cost savings by sharing the fueling facilities, we estimate to be annually at least a little over $14,000. And as you can see from the per gallon prices, the per gallon price of on a savings basis would be about 19 cents a gallon on diesel and almost 65 cents for gasoline. So the long-term fueling agreement buy-in costs would be such that the district would pay the town an estimated amount of about $126,000. And this would include a fair share reimbursement of a portion of the existing fueling facility, and also the purchase and installation of a new 20,000 gallon tank. And these costs assume that the Truckee Fire Department joins the agreement. And the costs are shown in the table below. So $260,000 cost total, and the district contribution would be almost $126,000. So the memorandum of understanding, or MOU, was drafted and reviewed by both district council and town council, and it consists of a pilot project, a 3-month term, and then a long-term agreement or the new tank project as it's depicted in the MOU. The town council approved the draft MOU at their December 8th meeting, and we have come up with some minor revisions. Our council has recommended minor revisions required to address the following items: indemnity, insurance, and termination provisions. And I would like to say at this time that the town has agreed to all of our council's proposed revisions. And then finally, staff will bring back to the board a final recommendation to enter into the long-term agreement after the pilot project is complete. So we're going to evaluate the pilot project and come back to the board on how the pilot went and a final recommendation. As far as our fiscal impact, sufficient funds exist in the electric capital reserve, which has a balance at the end of November of a little under $4 million. This $126,000 represents about 3% of that balance. And our CFO has identified the need, and council has identified the need to ensure that if there's any termination shorter than the length of the agreement, that the district's portion of our undepreciated costs of investment are returned. Again, the annual fuel savings are about $14,000, and we estimate that the O&M costs are conservatively estimated at net neutral, but more than likely we'll have a cost savings even on O&M. And so it's staff's recommendation that the board approve and authorize the interim general manager to execute the draft memorandum of understanding, attachment 1, establishing terms for the district's use of the town of Truckee's fueling station in the pilot project and new fuel tank project in substantially the form presented, with such changes as are acceptable to the interim general manager and district council, including but not limited to revisions to the indemnity, insurance, and termination provisions. And thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Let's see. Let's start with Director Laliotis. Do you have any questions or comments?
President Finn?
Yes.
This is Steve. May I share a point and address a conflict of interest issue and ask Joe for clarification on one issue?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, just a point of information. Last night, the Truckee Fire Protection District Board did approve the MOU with the revisions that we're talking about. Secondly, Director Harris does not have a conflict, provided that there's a disclosure made. So she's an employee of the town. This agreement is with the town, and under Government Code Section 1091.5A9, because this agreement is not between the district and the department of the town which employs her. My understanding is she works for or is employed in the HR department, and this agreement would be more directly with the Public Works Department. And provided that that disclosure is made on the record, and I would just ask Director Harris to confirm those facts, that she is in fact employed in the HR department and not Public Works, then she's deemed not to have an interest in this contract and may vote on it. So I just wanted to state that for direction and to provide guidance to Director Harris on this matter. And the third point was, Joe, you stated in your presentation that you would like a provision in the agreement that says that if the long-term agreement is terminated before 30 years, that we would get a pro rata return of our capital contribution. That item has not been discussed with the town or the fire district. And so if that is a term that staff and the board feels important, we're going to have to go back to the town and the fire district to talk with them about that type of an amendment. the termination provision that the town agreed to modify is that it cannot terminate, no party can terminate the MOU, but for cause or breach of contract. The original version allowed either party to terminate for no cause or without cause with 30 days notice. And we thought that was unacceptable, particularly after we made a capital contribution. We didn't want to just lose our capital contribution. So I'd ask Joe to clarify that request, and thanks for indulging my comments.
Sure. Maybe if Mike Salmon is on the as part of the group, he could speak to this, because this was something that he suggested.
Joe, I can speak on it. So per council's recommendation here, I think the intent and kind of the direction staff was going, and it appears there may have been some miscommunication kind of in the passing of the MOU revision, or passing back and forth between the agencies. The concern has been addressed that there was the ability to just either party end the agreement for no cause. If there is a for cause component to it, then it protects the district's initial investment in that infrastructure. And that was the intent here, was that the initial investment in the fuel facility storage tank, after an agreement was entered and there's a no cause separation, the district would lose that investment. So if there's a for cause component there, I think that's covered. It covers our concerns.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Steve, and thank you, Joe, again. And I believe that we need to get confirmation from Director Harris.
Yes. So I am a current employee of the town of Truckee. I work in the Human Resources Department, which is in the Division of Administrative Services, which is, a department. And Public Works is a department. So it is a separate department. So we have different department heads that are bosses in there. And both of our department heads report to the town manager.
Okay. Thank you, Director Harris. And moving back to other director.
You muted yourself, Krista.
Muted myself. Moving back to other director comments or questions for Joe. Director Laliotis, do you have anything to add?
No, I support this process. I think it's a good collaboration. We do the same thing in Tahoe City with the fire district. We share fueling facilities, so it's a benefit to consolidate infrastructure and use it for purposes. Obviously, the town needs some more capacity, and we need a better fueling solution. So I'm glad we can find some common ground here.
Thank you. Director Aguirre?
I think that this is it's like owning our own gas station instead of relying on the power going out and having the gas station downtown can't get us gas. and I think the idea with the two other agencies is good, and we're going to save money on the fuel, which will make up for our infrastructure and cost. And so to me, this is a win-win thing. I think this is good because we have gasoline when we need it.
Thank you, Director Aguirre. Director Bender?
Don't forget diesel, Joe.
And diesel, yeah.
Gas and diesel. Yeah, it's good to have local fuel, especially during emergencies. So it's a win-win, has a payback, and provides us local fuel when the going gets tough.
Thank you, Director Bender. Director Harris?
I just I'm going to say ditto to everybody because it is nice to see the collaboration between the different public agencies for the betterment of the community. So I like to see that.
Thank you. And I agree. I think it's a real manifestation of the spirit of collaboration that we've all been talking about. I have a quick question. Where do we currently refuel?
Great question, President Finn. We have a contract with Flyers, so we refuel at their stations, which are currently the two Shell stations in town.
Okay, got it.
They're right.
And sorry, Joe. I'm sorry.
That's right. No, I'm done.
Thank you. And the fuel costs, you broke it down, diesel and gas. The town was talking about shifting over to biodiesel. Do we know what or is this just too far in the future to have an idea of how much that fuel would cost and what the difference might be?
I'll turn back to the slide. Great question.
Well, renewable. It was renewable diesel. Thank you. The slide, yes. I just didn't read it closely enough. Perfect, because I am, as you all know, very supportive of shifting everything to renewables as quickly as we can. So I applaud moving our operations to a more sustainable practice. Okay, so that's all I have comment-wise. Shauna, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, Madam President.
Okay. In which case, does anybody have a motion?
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Thank you, Director Bender. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Shauna, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, thank you. Director Bender?
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Vice President Laliotis?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Shauna. I think we are moving on to routine business now. Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting, November 4th, 2020, and the special meetings of November 13th, November 17th, and November 18th, all of 2020.
So moved.
Pardon me?
So moved.
So moved. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, thank you. Director Bender?
Yes.
Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Director Harris?
I'm going to abstain because I was not a board member at that time.
Vice President Laliotis?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we get to hold the TD/P.U.D. special meeting, this meeting, in abeyance at 7:38. Move to our Finance Corporation meeting, which I will now call to order. I call to order the meeting of the Truckee Donner Public Utility District's Finance Corporation of December 16th, 2020. It is now 7:39 p.m. Shauna, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, thank you. Director Bender?
Roll call.
What's this vote for?
Here.
It's
Director,
actually not a vote. I'm sorry, Director Aguirre. It's just roll call.
roll call. Finance Officer. Director Harris?
All right, yes, here.
Vice President Laliotis?
Here.
President Finn?
Here.
Thank you.
Me too. I'm here.
Okay. Public input. This is the time set aside for the public to address the board on any matter not on the agenda. Testimony related to any agendized matter should be addressed at the time that item is considered. Do we have any public comment?
No, Madam President.
Okay, then I will close public comment. and move on to our first item of business, which is consideration of the 2021 election of board officers for the financial court. This item involves the nomination and election of a president and vice president for the next 12 months of the financial court. Do we want Shauna to present again, or are we okay with moving forward? And this is the question for my fellow board members. Director Bender.
Yeah, I'm okay with moving forward. You know, we've always done the same president.
Perfect. I feel similarly. If anybody has anything other to say, wave at me. Okay. Awesome. Do we have a motion?
I move that we nominate President Chris Stefan as president of our financial board. And can I do both of them?
I believe so.
And then Tony Aliotis, which is our vice president, as vice president of our financial board.
Thank you, Director Aguirre. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
There it is.
And Shauna, could we get a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Director Aguirre?
Yes.
Yes.
Director Harris?
Yes.
Vice President Laliotis?
Yes.
President Finn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am now going to adjourn the meeting of the P.U.D. Truckee Donner P.U.D. Finance Corporation at
I'll second the motion.
42. Yay. And now we will reconvene our regular special meeting of the P.U.D. And I think that we can, that's it. We can adjourn. So I just want to thank everybody for an exceptionally lengthy and dense meeting. I appreciate everybody's unflagging devotion to the district. And I don't think I have to make a motion to adjourn. I believe we can just adjourn. So thank you very much, and we will have a happy holiday, everybody. We'll see you in the new year.
You too, Chris. Have a happy holiday.
Bye.
And the rest of you also.
Happy holidays.
Okay.